Hey, Annabelle, looks like you have first honor. But hey, you might be the only one that shows up because I scheduled so late. Thanks for being here and stepping up to the plate and getting first honor. Thanks so much, Annabelle. I really appreciate you being here. I'm sure there's going to come a time where I'm the only one that shows up. It could happen, it could happen. Let's see. I'm waiting for my notification to come over the email. Yeah, here it is. All right, notification is going out. Let me follow my link so I could pin my comment here. Testing 1, 2, 3. Okay, message has been pinned. All right, so everything looks good. It's a go from Chinatown, Thailand. That's where we're at right now. Hmm. I guess I'm watching myself for right now. Sammy Chavez, how are you? How's it going? Did I get you out of bed? Minnie is still behind me. She's still in bed, right behind my back. I don't know if you could see her or not, but she's back there. It's too early for her. Yeah, so we're coming to you live from Chinatown, Bangkok, Thailand. So this is where we were gonna come a little bit later. We were gonna come on the 5th, but we grabbed the plane on the 3rd to come back to Bangkok because I got a little bit concerned about what's going on as far as doing all the online stuff to get into the Philippines. So you know, I haven't practiced on the website, and I need to get to a place where I had solid internet so that we could play around with the Philippine internet website to make sure that we get all the information in so that we can get the QR code thing going. So basically, that's what's going on. I got a little bit nervous. The whole monkeypox thing is going on, and we don't want to be way north in Thailand, about 800 miles, I guess, when the S hit the fan, if you know what I mean. If we get stuck. And but anyway, they could, I don't know, they could close the borders to the Philippines due to monkeypox virus. I don't know why didn't they close the Thai border? I don't know. Monkeypox is they got a lot of monkeys here also. As you know, in Thailand. Anyway, Sammy says, "Wake up, wake up." Sammy's in the live, and oh yeah, we're waiting to be monetized. That's what I wanted to talk about. Thanks for reminding me. I can go 10 different directions all at one time. So we're at like 1119 or 1120 subscribers, depending on which day of the week it is. And the thing is that we're the watch hours for the last. I guess I have to look at the 365-day count when I go into monetization screen to check out my status. It shows that we're meeting all the requirements except we don't have enough watch hours. So it's showing 3628 in watch hours, and of course, as the day goes by, it as the day goes by, it could either go up or the watch hours can go down based on who's watching for that day. So I don't know if I'm going to have to, Sammy, maybe you can give me some advice. Am I going to have to go live stream every day until I get the watch hours to boost them so that I don't fall behind? Because a couple of days of nobody watching, and boom, you're out of the game. You're no longer close. So I see Robert is here. Robert, welcome. What's going on? Yeah. So I came in to plead with everybody to please put your videos on Dan's Retirement Journey Philippines Bound, and then watch it in a loop. Put it on live stream. Put it on one of my old live stream videos, and then go ahead and put it in a loop, I guess, and then just keep watch until I get those hours I need for monetization. So as I was saying, I'm at 3,628 when I checked a few moments ago, which means I'm a couple of hundred hours short, you know. Yeah, I think what I'm going to do on that is I'm going to go into Nightbot later, and I'm going to add you again, Sammy. I'll add you back into the Nightbot so that maybe there's some kind of glitch in there. I'm not sure exactly, but oh, thank you so much for sharing, JL. You're number one, JL. Don't ever change. Don't ever change. Keep that live stream going and give us those videos. I always enjoy watching JL Valenciano, one of my favorite YouTubers on YouTube. So, uh, no, everyone knows that Sammy's my favorite. JL would be my second favorite. Anyway, I'm running out of coffee here. I might have to heat up the kettle here and get some more mojo going here. Mm, you miss your uploads. Yeah, you did some premieres. Well, Minnie and I were out shopping, I guess. We're running around in Chinatown, which is, man, extraordinary here in Bangkok. And that's one of the things that I wanted to talk about was, Sammy, you had suggested that we talk about the cultural differences between the Philippines and Thailand. And of course, there are a whole bunch of those. And it's been kind of an interesting journey because Minnie, when they go walking up to her, they start speaking Thai to her. And I was trying to suggest to Minnie that what she does is before they approach her and they start talking, she should just say hello and say hello in English, and that way they'll know right away that she is not Thai. But it's created one or two rifts, and this is one of the cultural things, about Thailand. So if someone comes up to you and they greet you, they want you to return the greeting. But so if they think you're Thai, like in Minnie's case, and they come walking up to you and they start talking to you in Thai, they're expecting you to return, in the language. But Minnie didn't understand this, right? She didn't know, and so they were getting mad at her because they just thought she was I don't know if they have such a thing as a stuck-up Thai person, but maybe they do. And so I try to explain to Minnie, no, when they come up, you say, oh, hello, it's nice to meet you. And so, but Minnie, she has to get in the practice of doing that. And as she learns to do that, then things start to smooth over a little bit. So basically that's what's going on there. Tim, how's it going? I see you. I see you pop in there, and I truly appreciate it. So, Tim, I'm close to the watch hours, but not close enough. It's going to take you guys out there watching the videos over and over again to get me over the top. So I'm at 36:28. You were the one actually that got me to go read the rules, Tim, because I didn't know that it's 4,000 watch hours in the last 12 months, or the previous 360 days, 65 days. That means that the number is going to change every day. It could go down, it could go up. And so I'm like chasing my tail right now. So Billy, need your help, man. Need your help firing up the computer so I can get over the top on watch hours. So that's where I'm at. I'm at 36:28. That close, but one day it'll drop, the other day it'll go up. And so it's really important to get them done all at the same time so I can get over that 4,000 watch hours. I know I have a lot of people helping me get over the top. And there's nothing more that we need now than positivity and love to all today. And for me, begging you to please fire up Dan's Retirement Journey Philippines Bound and grab some of the hour and a half live stream videos go in there and get those watch hours to boost me over the top. If you guys go in there and you help me out, I should be able to get monetized within a couple of days. And this is really important because we need the monetization going in order to provide support for the other channels. That's the main objectives, and to keep also to keep Coach Mavs going, submitting videos for wherever he's going to be. So in the future, the channel probably will, you know, will be kind of like, where Meanie and I are traveling. I actually want Coach Mavs to come go on this retirement journey with us, So I hope he does. But I'll be meeting with Coach Mavs and we'll be talking about it. But basically, in the event that he wants to stay in Pampanga and not follow us down to Bye Bye City Leyte, then he'll be like the reporter on the road, showing us his life from wherever he is in the world. Thanks, Tim. I truly appreciate it. If you could put the computer on and play it constantly, and then that'll definitely help in getting us over the top. Sean Trucking is in the house. Okay, I'm still on hold with Road Assist. Okay, so once I'm done, I'll join you. Why do you have Road Assist on? I mean, why are you waiting for road assistance? Sean, you got a mechanical problem? Just curious. Also, guys, Dan, you show me I'm about love and blessing and peace. That's absolutely true. I know that about you to be an undeniable truth. And I know it to be an undeniable truth for most of us here in this stream. We like people, seem to attract like people. I've learned a valuable lesson while being on YouTube about that. Oh, you're there in the chat. Okay, I thought for a second that maybe you were broken down or something. I guess is that the new CB radio? Is that the modern day way you guys communicate, Sean? I'm just kind of curious. Tim says, Dan, do you have playlists for all your video? No, I haven't assembled a playlist, but do you do that in Android or do you assemble the playlist in on the computer? If I establish a playlist, then are you guys then able to go in there and then play those playlists on a loop? Tim, is that what you're kind of signaling me to do or hinting me to do? Oh, I thought you had many cocktails to run live streams. Well, that did happen once or twice. And I think maybe one or two of you detected it, Sean. So I'm going to try and be a good boy. I wasn't drinking at all before I came over here. And then all of a sudden, things happen. I don't know if you cross over. You cross over that meridian. What is it? What's the line? The time thing. The next thing you start throwing back 40s. I'm not sure what it is, but the walking has been helping me keep my weight down. But unfortunately for Minnie, that isn't that isn't the case. But Minnie could stand to lose some weight, So I mean to gain some. So she's gained about 5 pounds since being here in Thailand. Yeah. So anyway. Anyway, let's see. Oh, Mabel. Hey, Mabel's here. Hi, Mabel. How are you? Mabel's one of the most fun people that I know on YouTube. Once you get to know her, if you watch a couple of her live streams, you get to know Mabel Torres's personality. Then you start laughing at I start giggling at some of the things that she does on YouTube. It's easy to understand why people go to her live streams and her channel and they start watching her videos. If you guys go there and you subscribe, but don't start getting hooked on her videos until you guys get me over the watch hours. We're at 3628 as of this morning, and that is hella close. But I know we're at a critical juncture in this. We're at a very, very critical juncture because as the days go by, you go to a next day, and then all of a sudden those watch hours start to decline, or they could go up. So anyway, Sean says hi to Tim. I see the Nightbot is doing its job, but not for Sammy for some reason. Sammy is the one that helped me set the whole thing up. So, hey, Lazy Larry, how's everything going, Lazy Larry? LL, better know, or the short LL, because Lazy Larry isn't exactly a realistic description or descriptor, I should say, of the hardworking person that you are. It is a fun name, though. It's a good YouTube name. It's way better than Dan's Retirement Journey Philippines Bound, which will become Dan's Retirement Journey very, very soon. As soon as I get with Sammy and others to figure out how I change the name without losing my watch hours. I don't, I'm afraid to touch the YouTube channel, YouTube studio, you know? I'm afraid to mess with it. I'm so low tech that I'm way down here. I'm so low tech that I have to take the elevator to get up to the first floor. And it's a very, very long ride. That's how low tech I am. Hey, what the F Mike is in the house. Hey, how's it going? Are you enjoying your coffee libation? Hey, what the F Mike? Do you drink coffee all day like me, or do you like give it a break after morning? Because I need the boost day in and day out. I'm telling you, I'm addicted to the caffeine. And the wife is always, always, bugging me about um, being a little bit too much on the caffeinated side of life. Oh, you're still playing my on my playlist. Thanks so much, Mabel. I appreciate you so much. We'll get together when we get in the Philippines. We'll do a collab. A collab. We'll find you. We'll find everybody. You got the playlist set up? No, no, I don't. You see, that's the problem. Do I set it up on Android or do I set it up on my computer, Mike? How do I get that thing going? Yeah, exactly. What the F? I know. Like I said, I am low tech. Sister Sammy, Mabel Torres says hi. Sammy, you did those upload premieres were excellent. I'm not sure I commented on all of them yet, but just want to let you know that, you could tell when you're being sincere and that things are coming from the heart. When you're speaking from the heart, you can tell right over the television set, right over the YouTube channel. You can tell. Yeah, oh, yeah, you're not low tech, you're no tech. So we change your name, or we'll change my name to No Tech Larry or No Tech Dan. Oh, yes, that's what we need to do. Change the channel name. People will really relate. Old people, especially older than 50, probably will most likely relate to that. But hey, my mom is 87. And at 87, she's carrying her iPad around and she uses that thing quicker than I've ever seen. I just like, Mom, how did you learn how to use that? She says, well, they taught us how to use it over there at the senior center. So this was prior to the pandemic. What do you guys think of all the monkeypox stuff that's going on? Do you think that's just the new make believe thing, or do you think there's actually something to it? And then what ailment does it actually cause? Do you get like chicken pox where you get the pustules all over your skin, or I don't even know anything about it. Why is everybody panicking? Why did the governor of California just put everybody on a state of emergency? I have no idea why that happened. So, oh, I'm not paying attention to my messenger at the time. Hey, what? I did what to who? Anyway, yeah. Yeah, sure, of course. Come up. Anybody who wants to come up, I think I posted the link there and I pinned it, if I'm not mistaken. If you want me to run it in the comments, what do I do? Control paste again into the comment section and boom. Boom. So I can do some things, I can do the easy stuff, right click and left click. I'm not sure you guys heard that or not. Oh, Was that Minnie who just walked across the screen? Yeah, headed for the restroom. So we're in a hotel in Chinatown, and I won't. You could probably figure out where we're at by looking at the room, but I didn't want to reveal it because I don't really want people coming over to the hotel and then throwing eggs at at me, as I exit. Because actually, it's a very, very, very nice hotel. I'm happy to be here, but we're still here, and so my fans. All right, let's see if I could add a couple folks to the screen. I'm working on it. Oh, there you are, Trucker Sean. How's it
Yeah,
going?
about a couple of minutes ago, Minnie came across there, was snooping over your shoulder, and then sat
Yeah.
down. I figured she'd come running up, barely seeing her top of her head at the bottom of the screen, like she does all the other times.
Yeah, she's so little. She's so little. She's such a cutie. I saw Lazy Larry try to get into the back, the green room, but I don't know where he went.
Uh,
Lazy Larry,
um,
what's up with you? Yeah, go
my
ahead.
my sister and niece are nurses. My ex is a doctor. Okay,
Uh,
it is real. The monkeypox thing is real, but the only way
okay.
it gets transmitted is through bodily fluids. It's transmitted a lot like AIDS or
Yeah.
gonorrhea or chlamydia and all that other crap.
Oh, wait, hang on just a second. Mike's asking. Okay, so I'll set the playlist on the PC. But hey, before I let you continue, Sammy, what is the code so that what the F Mike can drop his Nightbot? Is it Dan's or Dan? Is it something like that? I can't remember. Like I said, I'm very low tech. Anyway, I know. I have you in the Nightbot stream. I have you in there. I have you programmed in there. Sammy helped me get you in there. Sammy did three. Sammy did three. Oh, he did three premieres. Okay. I've seen maybe
Uh,
one, two. Anyway, go ahead.
I got a nasty air leak on the rear of my truck, and it messes with the suspension. And I made it to the middle of Missouri here on I-70, and there's a shop here at the TA, so I'm waiting my turn to get that fixed.
Oh, so I thought so. It's an air leak. Do you think it's in one of your dual valves or something like that? So that happens a lot.
It's by the tool axles. I thought it was an airbag that went bad, and I
Right.
sprayed it. And I don't see unless I missed it.
Right. Okay. Yeah, well, they'll be able to figure that out really quickly, probably. All right. Let me see. Lazy Larry is popping in. Let me see if I could add him to the screen without screwing
Where the
something
hell is
up.
Sammy and Robert? Sammy and Robert should get in
I
here
don't
too.
know. Their lives are so busy these days.
Well,
So.
you caught me just as I was getting ready to go to bed.
Oh yeah, it's late, huh? What time is it?
It's only
Nine
nine
9:30,
thirty.
thirty.
not 9:30, but I got to get up at 5 in the morning. So I
Oh
Oh,
go to
that's
bed
yeah.
different.
between. I go to bed
You
between
need
9
your,
and 10 usually. But
you need that rest, man. I mean, we're
I
getting
need
old.
all
I
the
mean,
beauty rest I can get. Come on, look at this mug.
me too. Me too. The whole thing is I'm in bed by 8:30 or 9 o'clock. Even we're in Thailand, and Minnie's pushing. She wants to see it all. Go shopping, and especially in Chinatown where we're at.
Anyway, Dan, with the monkeypox
Yeah.
thing, it won't
Yes.
kill anybody. It won't kill anybody. It just gives you nasty blisters, like a bad sunburn. You get
Yeah.
blisters, and it's painful and pain in the ass.
Dorkfish. Hey, what the F, Mike? Is Pinky Gray in the house somewhere? Did I see pink? Did I see the color of the screen change to pink? What is the I command, Sammy? Where did Sammy go? Sammy, it's Dan. He said, hey, what the F, Mike? He says it's Dan is the command. Well, what more brilliant thing or command to give it than Dan? So, okay, so you're saying, Sean, you're saying that it won't kill us all.
No, it won't do anything.
But do we have to stay home, incubate ourselves? What do we
No,
have to
no. It only gets passed through bodily fluids. They just keep talking about it on the news to raise people's ass hairs. Is all it's doing.
Yeah. Well, it is raising fears. So what does this have to do with the economy? Are they going to go? Are they going to go back for part
Well,
two?
they're drawing anything they can to keep your mind off of what's important.
Well, what is important today, Sean? Since you're on you've got the floor. What's important today?
The economy.
The economy is tanking.
Yes. When you got a president up this area, I got the best economy. He's living on another world. The amount of interest we have to pay to the Chinese on all the debts that we owe. Oh my God!
Right. All right, but it isn't. Hey, it's very, very little. But I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, but it's very, very little. In comparison to other countries and their debt service.
No, we're the biggest debtor in the world.
We're only like 1.2 or 1.3% of GDP on debt service. Man, we have a whole long way to go until we reach somebody like.
It's not going to be. It's not going to be serviceable. It's not going to be sustainable, and here's why. Within the next 4 to 5 years, we're going to be spending $800 billion in interest alone to the Chinese. That's not sustainable.
Yeah,
and there is a way out of this. The way out of this is to look up Yanis Varoufakis.
Balance the budget. I'm not a balance the budget kind of guy.
No, the best person to look to for an answer to this is Yanis Varoufakis. He used to be the finance minister of Greece.
Yeah,
he's an economics professor. Also, he's really good, and he's got the Greek people out of debt.
Oh, okay. Well, here's the thing. Here's the thing. What if we don't want to be out of debt? That's the question. And you know what's going on. You know what's going on, Sean. I know you do. Correct me if I'm wrong. I didn't know we were going to be talking finance today, but you service old debt by using inflated dollars. That's the old trick. So you're using inflated dollars to pay the debt down when the economy is rocking and rolling, and we were borrowing money on the cheap.
I know, but the Chinese are not that stupid. They're smart people, trust me.
All right. So, hey, we had Robert. Robert's in the house on the screen. We got 4 of you going now. We got myself, Sean. We got LL, the incomparable LL, and then we've got Robert in the house. And
Sean, I got a question for you.
What about what about the incomparable Robert?
Yeah, Robert. Well, we've got the loving, caring Robert in the house.
Larry, what's your question?
Love.
What do you think about the Chinese buying up all our farms?
Positive, Robert. Go ahead. I'm sorry, Larry. Say it again.
What do you think about the Chinese buying up all the farmland?
They can't buy up farmland.
Bill Gates owns it.
Bill Gates is buying some, but they're also reporting that the Chinese are buying some.
No, they can buy property and land here in the States, but it only can be federal, or unless some private individual sold their farm to whomever. Yeah. See, that's what's weird about the United States. Anybody from any country can come here and buy property, but nobody can just go to another country and buy property. Like we can't go into the Philippines and buy property unless we're married to a Panay.
Right. So I'm glad you brought that up, because here in Thailand, they're just starting a new program where, you have to spend $1.2 million or something like that. I don't know all the details. And then they will give you, it can be a combination of property, stocks, bonds, investments, a total 1.2 or 1.3 million, whatever it is. I could be wrong on the facts. And then you get a 10-year visa. But I just started thinking about that, how popular of an idea that would be, because that is a lot of dough, so they do want to attract investors. I mean, I think that is the game, but how many people are walking around, with 1.2 million that they can invest in Thailand?
The Chinese are investors. They're not malevolent. They're not malevolent. They're businessmen, and they bought Smithfield Foods, which is a big producer of pork and beef and chicken. Well, not really chicken, but they produce all that. And the Chinese bought them out like 5 years ago, It's corporate capitalist elites that are selling this to them.
Right.
And they did a good job rebuilding some of them, because they're not. You go to some of these food processing plants, they're dumps. You're like, I wouldn't eat anything from this place. And people wanted to talk about Wuhan and the food market there. I said, you want me to take you to a Cargill down the street and show you? You'll say the same thing. Because I've been to every beef plant in this country, and some of them are not so great.
Wow. Well, yeah. Well, the thing is, though, we have an economy in decline. I mean,
It's been in decline.
It's happening. It's happening in slow motion, and so you got to put all your eggs in the economies that are in growth mode. And I know, I mean, that's one of the things that we could talk about. The differences between Thailand and the Philippines. Is that when you have so Thailand, they have infrastructure that's very, very solid and improving. Although it's very, very difficult, it's not very pedestrian friendly. I can tell you that. But in other words, if you got a disability or you're elderly, it's not so easy to get around Thailand with a cane. And I don't think I think there's similarities in that and the Philippines. But they're working as hard as they can in order to improve that by putting in sidewalks, putting in paved curbs and all those other things. Infrastructure improvement.
Dan, let me ask you a question.
Yeah, sure.
Okay, what do you think happens to us as society from 1820 to 1978? That time period where wages were okay, where wages were no. Okay, from 1820 to 1978, wages rose gradually all throughout that time period. And when 1978 hit, it stops. What do you think happens to a society when that happens?
Well, here's another reason why we may be in decline. It's because population's in decline. And so when population's in decline, we're talking working age population. When wages decline, and then you have a double whammy, right? You have wages declining, you have a double whammy. That double whammy is a reduction in population, wages declining. That's almost like certain death.
Well, 1978 is when it started. Wages have remained flat since. When you have, inflation and wages weren't going to rise, there's two things that our culture did that it probably didn't realize that it did. They knew that wages weren't going to rise after 1978. They put a stop to that. But production and everything rose 77%. So these corporate boards of directors were making buku bucks. They thought they were geniuses. What they did was they what average person makes and what they can buy is the same as it was back in 1978. Now, when you live on a stagnant wage from 1978 all the way to 2008 and make people borrow instead of raising their wages, they just made them borrow the money from the corporate people that were throwing the money into the banks, making them borrow to keep up with the illusion they were keeping up with the American dream. And then 2008 happens, and they don't have enough wealth to service the debt. And that's why 2008 happened, along with the housing crash, too. They just kept borrowing and borrowing and borrowing, and people just couldn't get out of it, for the most part. Not everybody, but a good chunk of the population did, because that was the invention of the credit card. The only people that had it back then were businessmen. They had an American Express card.
Larry,
that was one way people could borrow.
Larry looked like he wanted to say something.
Well, hold on. And the women came out of the house by the millions and became part of the workforce. But it wasn't enough.
They tried to shore up household income.
Yes, and that's why we went.
I lived through it.
That's why we went from the 1950s and the 1940s, 50s, and 60s. You had Leave It to Beaver and the Brady Bunch, and then here we are in the late 80s and 90s. We got The Simpsons and the Family Guy, and you got, moms and dads are arguing, they can't get along, the kids are mouthing off. It was a cultural shock that happened when
Wait,
mom is
Mike
not
says,
home.
hey, what the F Mike says they haven't made me an offer on his farm. That's because you're too big, Mike. You are one of the industrial farmers. They can't afford you, dude.
Yeah, well, when mom is not home to nurture and take care of the kids, like a lot of us grew up back in the day, that's the product you get. You get
Bye,
kids
Tim.
mouthing off, don't care about authority. And everybody was wondering, what's wrong with these kids these days? Well, that's because of the cultural shift that you didn't know that happened. See, this has been studied long ago. I learned all this.
Good morning, Filipino Raquel. How are you doing?
And
Meow.
I got to
Yeah,
tell you,
that's meow to you.
if the minimum wage kept up with production, minimum wage today would be $25 an hour. And it is in some countries like Denmark. The McDonald's employees there in Denmark make $22.50 an hour, and when they're immediately employed by law, they get 5 weeks paid vacation, and
Right.
they have universal health care in that country.
Right.
Well, I
Well,
gotta tell you, our pharmaceuticals over here cost a fortune. You go to Canada,
I think there
$6.
was a tie-in there. I think there was a tie-in there with the topic, today's topic, and the tie-in really is that, or the point that I was trying to make, or I'm going to make, is that when you have labor, when you have young, educated labor, like you have in the Philippines, you have economic growth, and so the huge multinational corporations are going to be seeking out that labor. It does not necessarily mean that they'll establish manufacturing or productivity in the Philippines, but it does mean that they could import Philippine labor, Filipino labor, and
But
so
a
I
lot of
mean
manufacturing is
they're
automated
depending
now.
on them. They're depending on them.
Hmm. But a lot
So
of
you
it's
can only
automated now. They eliminated the human person in production and industrial. Like the audio industry is damn near all automated. They don't have
right.
workers. The only workers they have is the people that work on the machines that put together the cars and everything.
Well, they still need people to push the button on the machines, as a friend of mine pointed out.
Yeah, but not
Yeah,
as many people.
one person takes over the job of a couple hundred.
Wait, time out. I want to hear what LL has to say. Larry,
Well, I'm
what?
going to say back when I first started working, I
Yeah,
made $1.10 an hour, and that was minimum wage. And yeah, like I said, it went up, but nothing like inflation.
right.
Yeah, inflation's eroded away.
Well, like I said, back when I was making $1.10, and then later on, it went up to I think it was $1.25 before I went in the Navy. A person could actually go out for that 40 some dollars because the taxes weren't that heavy. You could go out and rent an apartment, buy food, get a decent car, and pay all that. But I didn't do all that because I was only working part time because I was in high school.
Mm-hmm.
But there was guys that were living on that, and they weren't sharing apartments. They were having their own place. Maybe not a house, but they had at least their own apartment.
Right.
And nowadays, you make minimum wage in some areas. You better have a partner to share the expenses with, whether it's your
Oh yeah,
wife
exactly.
or
That's
our
the
friend.
game. That's the game, and that's why you have in the United States you have micro apartments going up everywhere. If people want to maintain, because they realize that the young people, the up and comers, game the system already, and they already have figured out that all they have to do is pull their money, and they have the same buying strength as the rich guy next door. They hate that. They hate
Hey,
that. They would
hey,
rather build micro apartments and push
Yeah.
independence.
hey, Dan. See
You
the
know,
area I live
living
in.
in a micro apartment.
Yeah, the area I live in. There's these people that work for these government contractors that make so much mad money that
Yeah,
they'll drop, 5-6 grand for a 1 bedroom apartment.
right, right.
So it's just I don't know how to explain it. It's
Anyway,
just
here's the thing, Robert. Here's the thing. That's what prompted me to move. Nobody wants to have to put up this crap when they're in retirement mode. All you want to do is you want to get as much enjoyment out of the rest of your life that you have left on this planet. That's the
Mm-hmm.
whole point. And so that's why you have a million or two people leaving almost every year out of the United States. These are numbers that they don't want you to know about because they don't want people to discover. See, one thing is you have to depress wages in order to prevent people from moving because for obvious reasons. When you have depressed wages, people aren't so mobile. You know, they can't they in other words, they can't get around so easily, you know, but believe me, the United States, they're going to start working on laws and other Western nations that prevent you from moving around so much. They'll say, okay, since you're living now over in the Philippines or you're living over in Thailand, we're going to take a 20% discount on your Social Security payment because we can, because money that's earned here should be spent here. It's coming. This has come before Congress a couple of times in idea form and has never, ever, I don't even think it's ever made it into committee because people are terrified of this idea. But other Western nations, I believe, are doing it.
I got to tell you that you guys are boomers, what they call boomers,
Yeah,
and
I'm a boomer.
there's
like
there's a big difference, okay? And the fight is between the boomers and the millennials and Gen Z, okay? Now, there isn't so much Gen X like me. We're forgotten about and we don't give a shit anyway. But
Hey,
what it is
I think there's
you
only
got,
like 40 or 50 million of you, Sean, hanging around.
yeah, you want to consider this. This is very important.
Larry, sorry, pardon
People,
me. Larry, move your mic closer when you speak. I noticed that too. Move your
yeah,
mic a little bit closer. There you go. Thank
look,
you.
people 45 years and younger were too young or little to remember or live through the Cold War.
Right.
That's very important. I was 18 years old when the Cold War ended. Okay, I knew a little bit about it. I remember when I was a kid, they made that movie The Day After, which I just went through Kansas City. I'm only 50 miles away. That was nuked in the movie. There was that fear, but then when I got past high school, it was over. I had an exchange student from Germany, Florian Rawl. He's from Stuttgart. And I hugged him when they reunited his country while he was over here going to school. And when he went back home, Germany was reunified.
Hey,
Okay,
guys,
your kids, 45 years and young.
Buddha.
That's very important. People 45 years and younger are not afraid of.
I just wanted to thank Sean. I just want to thank Buddha for a second because Buddha did a really nice shout out for me recently. Mm-hmm. So, Buddha, I just want to let you know how much I appreciated that. All right, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Yeah, people 45 years and younger, and I think Buddha falls into this, and Sammy does too, but Sammy's in another country. But people 45 years and younger are not afraid of Russia. They're not afraid of China. They're not afraid of communism.
How could you be afraid of Russia? They only have 183 million people living in the whole damn country, and it's huge. It's huge.
Oh, I realize that. Okay,
they're not having kids.
Yeah, they're not afraid of communism, of what you define it as, and they're not afraid of socialism, and they're not afraid of new ideas. Okay, the way we were told. We were told certain things. We were all told the same thing, and we bought it and learned it and everything else. That generation was not, and they continued to read about certain people like I did. And believe me, I had to deal with it, grapple with this myself. When I read Das Kapital, the 4 volumes, and I'm like, this person is nothing like what I was told to believe and accept without question growing up. He's nothing like what I'm reading. And I kept reading and reading and reading. And I'm like, this makes a lot of sense. And when did this guy die? 1883? Oh, that's, 140 some years ago? But his ideas spread everywhere. And you think, wow, the global movement, when you look at global movements, he spread faster than any global movement ever did. spread quicker than any religion you can think of.
So
And his idea is to spread to every country on the face of this earth.
moving to Thailand or the Philippines is actually the great equalizer, for the economy. If you're
So far.
If you're living on a pension, if you're living on a pension, or even if you're going to be living on only Social Security,
You got to think.
But a lot of people have already kind of leveled the playing field a little bit by buying houses and paying them off.
It
so
sounds.
that's another option.
A pension sounds secure, but let me tell you this:
Right.
whenever you raise interest rates, throughout history, when they've done that, when the Fed raises the interest rates, the market collapses. So you better hope whatever collapses in the market that your pension's not tied to it, because a lot of pensions are tied to the market.
Yeah, we have a conservative investor in our pension fund. So
there's a lot of
go and buy hotels and invest in Trump Tower in Moscow, or no one did anything like that.
Yeah, well, what I'm saying is that a lot of people that were retired getting a pension had to go back to work because there was no checks to be had from their pension fund because it went bust.
Larice is in the house, the most eligible Filipina bachelorette.
And who did they bail out? AIG, $800 billion. They built out the airline, all the other places. But forget about everybody else. That's what they did.
Tax money. They're still using our tax money to subsidize.
Yeah, that's what I'm trying to say.
That benefit private business.
Yeah,
I don't get it. I don't get how that works.
On behalf,
Lazy Larry, go.
On behalf, go ahead.
My oldest brother-in-law worked for Eastman Kodak, and he got laid off in a big bloodletting, about 20 years ago. And they gave him the option of taking a little less money, and then my sister would get money, the same amount if he died, or he could take more money, or he could have it rolled out. Well, he rolled it out, which turned out to be a smart thing, because a couple of years later, they lost their pension because they were going through bankruptcy or something, and they took the pension away from everybody. And GM did the same thing about 10 years ago.
Yep.
So
they got a bailout.
The pensions aren't always safe.
Hi, Toy.
And on behalf of the banks and AIG, thank you.
Kuya Sean.
Hello.
You asked me earlier, what Kuya Sean talking? And why I can't see Kuya Sean, and then I can't see myself there. And then I told him, I am in the live stream.
Because you have the camera turned off.
So there he is.
Now, I'm telling you.
Choi.
But I'm telling you, Dan, you have made the right choice. But the risk is, if people that go over there and their pension fund goes bust, you're screwed.
Yeah.
And you're gonna have to come back home.
There's no. Why would you go back home? There's no reason to go back home. You don't have any money.
Hey, Sean, that ain't totally true.
That's the whole point.
No, stop. That ain't totally true. Because when my VA benefits kick in, they can't mess with that.
Everybody says that, just like in GM. Back in Dayton, Ohio, they can't close the 5 plants. They can't close these plants and all these jobs in Dayton.
Wait, I know about this. I'm siding with Robert. Is actually correct. So here's the whole thing.
They cannot mess with my VA benefits.
No, you cannot. The law is written. It's solid. But
I understand that.
You can with Social Security, but you can't with any other fund. See, that's the thing.
Yeah, but I really wouldn't worry about that. But what I'm trying to tell you is a lot of Americans have that in their brain that, like in Dayton, Ohio, we had 5 GM plants and Delphi plants. Oh, they can't close these down. Hold on a minute. They can't close these down. They put all these people out of work, this, that, and they can't do that. Well, 2 years later, they did. I'm trying to tell you that they can and they will. They will screw anybody. Our government will do that if they have to.
Actually, some of the companies aren't. The government's not doing it. It's the company. GM.
Exactly.
The government. Delphi was part of GM until about what was that? 2000 and
isn't the whole idea? Larry, isn't the whole idea with wanting to move to the Philippines is
Is
to
to
give
live
a little?
cheaper and
Yeah,
live
But
because
better.
it's cheaper and you're giving yourself this huge cushion, against inflation and other monkey business that can happen in the world. I,
Well,
I see what Sean is saying. I see what Sean is
if
saying,
you
but I think it's
if
a more I think it's more reasonable for me to think. I think it's reasonable
if we
that
don't
I would
have
but
Sean,
Sean, here's the whole thing.
Sean, I got.
There's a lot of distance between 100% and zero. So that's the whole thing. In other words, they could first you have to talk about a reduction in payment. So before you get to zero where there are none payment. So where there's no payment. So for example, let's say that my pension fund is funded about 88% or 90%, which it is. They could always reduce the outgo of money to that 90% that is written. And so they
All right.
still would
Well,
pay you, but they would pay you they would take a discount. Not a discount, but they would pay you the value of the percentage of the fund. And
I
so
believe
yeah, there can be
so
it can be like a roller coaster where they adjust the pension payment every year, but it doesn't mean that the pension would go away to zero. So I just would
all
like to
right.
point that out. That's a little extreme view that has more of a chance of happening to your generation of folks than it does to me,
oh no,
honestly.
if you're talking about the Social Security, no, there's a good chance it'll happen to us.
Yeah, that we'll
yeah
get a reduced payment amount, but it won't
Well,
go away.
No, I
It's
don't think so.
impossible for it to go away.
when
Well,
y'all, hey, the thing is, what I'm saying is, it is written into law, like Dan said.
hmm
They can't mess with a veteran's benefit. Period.
no, no. The only thing that would hurt your benefits, Robert, is if you went to another country and the VA didn't have a hospital. You might get fewer benefits, like in the Philippines. It's got to be service related
I think Sean is in love
before
with you.
they'll treat you for that. Now, anything service related, if they can't do it in the VA, they will pay to have done somewhere else.
yeah, I'm
Mhm.
telling you, if we don't have a leader like an FDR to come forward in our government, we're going to be right where we are.
Well,
I don't know who that's going to be though right now. I mean, both
There's
sides
no
are
more
idiots.
FDRs, Sean.
Yeah, there can be. They just are unwilling, or they're bought and paid for to remain
Here's,
stagnant
here's
like they have been for years through the
I can
corporate
share with you
money.
guys. I can share with you guys how the program that Minnie and I have put together. So I have both a government pension and Social Security, which I agree that it's very dangerous to be in that situation. To this, uh, follow my idea here. So let's say that they pass a law that says if you receive a government pension, then you have to take a discount on your Social Security. That could possibly happen. So I mean, that's the thing that I fear. So the way that me and I have set this up, I was telling her, I said for as long as we're getting both, 100% of both, we have to sock it away. We have to save that money for your retirement future. And so we have to live on a shoestring budget. We have to learn
Mhm.
how to do that in order to guarantee your future because cash is king. We're entering an environment where cash is going to be king. And so the more money you sock away underneath the mattress, the better off you're going to be.
Yeah, Dan, you and Larry and Robert, your grandparents were the first, I believe, they were the first generation to collect Social Security.
I know my grandfather was.
When it first started in 1933, due to Roosevelt, the government didn't have any money. A lot of people don't know this history, and it's our own history. The government didn't have any money, and he was approached by a coalition that threatened revolution because they're in the Great Depression. It was right after 1929. They're in the Great Depression. Governments ain't got any money, and he gets approached by a coalition, and like, we like you, Frank, but you're gonna have to help the mass of American people, or you're gonna have a revolution. And they said, okay. He knew all the rich people because he was one of them. So he went to the rich people and say, look, the government ain't got any money, and you got to give me the money to help me, because if you don't, there's going to be a revolution, and you're not going to have any money to give me. So So you better give me some of it, or you're not going to have any at all. So they did. They were still the richest people in the world, no doubt. He taxed the rich 92% over a certain amount, which was $24,000, which would equate to about $480,000 a day. Over that amount, you got to keep 8 cents. At first, he wanted to go 100%, but Republicans and everybody went crazy, and they worked out a deal, and they made it to 92%.
That's still pretty
And
good
that's
change.
yeah, that's what paid for all the New Deal, the deal that wasn't green yet in 1933. What it did was he created a Social Security. Now the people that first collected Social Security never paid into it.
Where are you going, babe?
Okay. Now what they did was back in the 50s they started itemizing paychecks, and when FDR died, that's when the Republicans went to work. The first thing they changed was they weren't going to allow another FDR to come around because they limited it to 2 terms. Because the man who taxed the rich 92% was reelected 3 times. Well, what he did was he created a minimum wage. We never had that before. I mean, created 14 million government jobs. You know, he said, if the private sector ain't going to hire you, I have no other choice but to hire you. And that's what built our interstate program, our national parks. Everybody enjoyed it. It did a lot of things. But all of that New Deal that Roosevelt did was all slowly taken away. And they kept giving tax breaks. I mean, what do the rich pay in tax now? 35%? That's a tax cut, isn't it?
Yeah.
But that's what created the middle class in this country was the New Deal.
Another thing I want to see them do away with is all these damn loopholes that let people pay almost no taxes that are making all.
But it's not loopholes.
Well,
I'll tell you what it is. It's knowing the tax code.
Yeah, what I'm saying is there's that's what. But I'm saying close it up so that they got to pay something.
No,
Some of these guys take their pay. They take their pay in stocks, and they don't get charged for that until much later.
You're talking to somebody that has read. Only very few people have actually read the tax code. It's over 8 million words, 27 pounds of rice paper, and through a bunch of colleagues of mine, and I learned from a good one. And he's got his own YouTube channel, and he's a paralegal. He's been in this game for 40 years, and believe me, he's been to court. He knows, and if there is an expert, his name is David Merlin.
Hey,
and
Sean,
huh?
I have a question for you. You were in the Army, correct?
Yes.
How many years?
4.
All right, so you did a 4-year term and got out.
Yes. I didn't care how I left. I just wanted out.
And made a rank of captain, correct?
Yes, I'd made it pretty quickly, too. Because I went to military school.
All right. Well, I'm not being don't take this the wrong way, right? You know, I work for every bit of my rank, which was senior chief. Which I agree with you on. Me and you talk a lot. We do. I agree with you on a lot of things. And once I got toward the end of my naval career and saw that they were lying to me, is when I wanted out.
It took you a little longer than it took me.
And then they tried to pull me into diplomatic security and all this other stuff. And I said, no, I'm done. I just want to go home. And so I agree, you know, and I do listen to you, Sean. I do. You're a smart man. You're a very smart man.
I just had the right education to help me
But
learn from the right people.
The thing is, you've seen and done the same shit I've done.
Maybe not as much.
So you were over there and you saw the same shit I saw.
I think you saw more than I did.
Yeah, and I've done things I'm not proud of. But it is what it is, right?
I really wasn't on the ground. I was in a command chair hitting buttons.
Well, I was on the ground.
I looked at something. Oh, here we go. Number 6. Boom.
Yeah, well, see, I was
boom.
On the ground.
There goes all that dust everywhere.
Yeah, I was on the ground. So I saw
Hi,
stuff
Daisy. Thanks for stopping by, Daisy.
I still would like.
I saw
Larice,
stuff
if
and
you're
did
still there,
stuff.
thanks for sharing. Thank you for sharing, Larice. I appreciate that.
I
Yeah, I
still would
saw
like to know
stuff
if I
and
hold
I
the
saw
record for the
stuff.
most.
I saw stuff and did stuff that I ain't proud of, and lost a lot of good friends. You know.
Hey, you single guys that are out there, I don't know. I don't know if you know this, but Larice is available.
Really,
So,
but I'm
there's
curious. I want to know if I'm still hold the record for the biggest waste of ordnance in combat history. Not one
Wouldn't know.
casualty, not even a bug.
Wouldn't know about that.
I wasted a lot of ordnance. Like, you don't have to hit your target, but you can fire on it and miss. And that's what we did because we're not going to murder people, women, and children. I totally
so
cleared that mountainside for the engineers that had to go
here's,
in and move it.
here's the thing. I mean, I think we're having a great discussion. I mean, the thing is, these are the
Sean,
reasons.
Dan, and Sean.
Yeah.
Listen, I earned the rank of a senior chief in such a short time by believing in something that I thought was the truth. You know.
Oh man, I don't know if we should go there.
And when I got toward the end of my naval career, and this is the first time I'm going to share this, and Sean, first time you're going to hear it, is I had a Lieutenant JG come at me sideways, and he was disrespectful, and I punched him and I broke his jaw, one shot. So
Wow.
the Navy saw fit to kind of decommission me at that time, or let me sit idle and decide what they were going to do.
Yeah, you don't strike an officer. They don't even really hear the case. They just look at it that.
Yeah, well,
But
they did look at it.
Mhm.
You know, and 20 years later, they gave me back my honorable
Oh, good for you.
because they saw that Lieutenant JG was wrong.
Hmm. I think
Uh,
that
My job, straight out, Dan and Sean, was to keep my men alive. Period.
Well, I wasn't
And
as an officer. I just didn't do that. I thought about their wits. Their because they didn't want because a lot of them had fathers that fought in Vietnam, and they didn't want to live out the rest of their life as a drunk because of what they did. So I saved their conscience, is what it did, and I still get them calling
well,
me to this day, thanking me for that.
and, same as in the Army, same as the Navy. The rank I held was pretty much the same rank as the master sergeant in the Army. My job was to keep my men alive.
Oh
And
crap!
if I disagreed with that officer's choice, oh, you know military uh protocol, John.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Crap! It's got to be on the other one
I
then.
go against an officer. What could happen to me?
Dishonorable discharge, probably a term in Fort Leavenworth. Which I just passed Fort Leavenworth a few hours ago. I've been there 5 times. I brag about that. I almost got banned from that place too.
But my point is just this. At that point in my life, I just said that was it. I'm tired of the lies. I'm tired of my men being put in harm's way. For what?
Corporate profits.
And
most
oil.
likely.
And oil. And oil. That's all it was.
So, but let's talk about here. These are we're talking really about the economy, and we're talking about the economies too of Thailand and the Philippines. Since
Yeah.
Um, we're doing a comparison, and so here's the thing that I noticed about that. I think that most of us here we're on the same wavelength in terms of wanting to get as much bang for our buck sometime in the future.
Shit.
And when you look at Thailand and Philippine economy, something there are some obvious differences between them, and that is that that Thailand seems to invest heavily in infrastructure improvement, and the Philippines is lagging just a tiny bit behind. And the other thing that caught my attention, but I'm not sure about that because, as you know, they keep filling in Manila Bay and they keep building casinos out there.
I
So with
visited.
a direct pipeline from the airport to the casinos. So I think, by the way, in case you haven't heard or read recently, Thailand is talking about legalizing gambling so that they can start building casinos. And so everybody's after revenue building post pandemic. And honestly, I don't really have a problem or a critique. I think it's a great way to go. I think if people want to spend their money in the casinos and
Yeah.
provide some security for employment and a little buffer zone for future downturns in the economy, I'm all for it. So I think those things, um, the improvement in infrastructure have to be way, way high on the list before before the economies of the Philippines and Thailand can really, really launch. But the other thing is, I don't know if you guys heard this or not, but Elon Musk, the
Ah.
stock is going to be available starting the last quarter, I believe, of this year in the Philippines. So people are really excited. I don't think that Starlink is going to be available to private consumers really, really quickly. But I think what they're doing is they're rolling it out, where the money is, and that's for big business. And so the economy of the Philippines and actually Thailand can actually change overnight due to Skylink. One of the infrastructure improvements they don't have to make is going to be in internet service because Skylink is going to solve that problem. A good example of how the economy changed when internet service went satellite would be um, southern Africa, I guess is what I'm reaching for. So if you want to get something to compare it to, there was no laying a fiber optic cable or anything like that. They just went straight to satellite, and so the economy changed almost overnight. The Philippines, prior to the pandemic, they were already enjoying a 7 to 9% growth rate. I mean, compared to the fabulous growth rate of the United States, stuck somewhere between 1 and 2%. They keep saying, which I'm sure is actually a negative growth rate, true a negative growth rate. And so, I mean,
Mhm.
I see a huge future for the Philippines and Thailand, but I also see the westernization of those countries. And so that makes me a tiny bit nervous because, of course, when you have people wanting Western goods and services, then the economy starts to thrive, wages start to increase, and the cost of goods and services start to increase. But there is a difference between the Philippines and Thailand, and that is Thailand doesn't want foreign intrusion into their economy as much as the Philippines does.
Well, the thing
And so
is, Dan, the thing
seeing
is,
huge
Dan,
investment in the Philippines, and in Thailand, they regulate the investment into their country because they're focused on their culture, their survival of their culture. All things cultural in Thailand belong to the people, and so they don't they really have an opposition, and that opposition is a huge movement of people that don't want foreign investment because they don't want to see Westerners going there driving the cost of goods and services to the moon. But you will see that happening, I'm thinking, in the Philippines.
hey, Dan,
Yeah.
all right, but this is the first time I've ever shared this in the YouTube community. Um, I was special warfare. If you know what special warfare is in the Navy, Larry should know what that means.
Sheila, thank you.
which means I earned the trident pistol anchor. So I've seen things, done things, and been all over the world, and experienced many cultures. And I really don't. Yeah, you guys got to really understand that the things I've seen and done and been through, that I question a lot of things.
I believe it.
Larry, don't go anywhere. I wanted
Hey,
to.
Robert, there's a huge transference of wealth going on right now in this country. They went in for part two on
Yeah,
the
but see,
housing.
I was a soldier, Dan. I was a soldier, Dan. I wasn't an
Yeah,
economist. You know, I did what I was told to do.
yeah, that's what you have to do. That's what you're there for. But
Well,
go ahead, Sean.
okay, Larry.
Yeah.
When over the years you've heard people talk about it, and you get a lot of weird answers, but nothing really concrete. Because getting Americans to read is a daunting task. Okay, I don't like to read, but as I started to read certain things that I found very interesting, because I had a lot of questions that I wanted answered, and it did. I sat down. I said, you know what? I'm going to do it for myself. I've run into some colleagues that are doing the same thing, and then you run into somebody that's been in this game for 40 years, and then you say, well, you read that. Well, look at this, and then look at this, and this, and this. To understand our federal income tax code, okay, it's not a one. See, everybody wants to get to the answer right away. When it comes to the economy or the tax code, they want that answer right away. Okay, this is no quickie. You have to be taken through a lot to understand the answer. Okay? That's why when people ask me, do we owe income tax on our paycheck? My answer is this, and you have to go by the way the courts do things, because language is very important. It depends on your situation, because everybody's situation is different. But however, the majority of us are situated very similarly. Now, this has been in court many a time, but when you educate yourself, you have to read a lot of case law. Okay, how did the courts make rulings and this and that? And you get a lot of people that'll fire on you and say, well, they threw my buddy in jail and all this and that. I'm like, okay, what brief did he bring to the courts? And they can't tell me, and they don't even know what a brief is. I'm like, if you don't know what a brief is, then you're dead from the get-go. The
Hey,
courts aren't going to give you the law.
Honestly, Sean, if you don't mind me interrupting, the only relevance I see in talking about the tax code is that you would have more disposable income if you didn't pay your taxes, and so.
Let me tell
Larry,
you, for the most part, you probably do not owe it, and here's why.
It's a theory that more and more of less and less equals more, and so even if you were going to if you had more disposable income, you would spend more on the retail level, and so that would increase taxes because you would be paying your taxes on the retail end of things. Larry, I want to hear what Larry has to say real quick here.
No, you're right. I mean, if we had more money, we'd spend more money, but
yes,
we might save more money as well.
That's right.
The thing
you want to know what? Go ahead.
No, all right. The thing is, I don't mind paying taxes, but when they want how much they're taking is ridiculous. I believe in a flat tax. And if you're going to say, well, the poor shouldn't be taxed, you're all right. Set up a limit. Let's say 20,000, just to So if you make the first 20,000 for everybody is tax free, and then if you make anything over that 20,000, it's taxed at whatever flat rate you want to go at.
Well, they have figured this out, and this has been talked about in the U.S. for a while, and that is that they want to whether they want to establish a VAT or not, value added tax, and so pretty much that's how value added tax works in Southeast Asia.
If you read the cover of the IRS code book, which really doesn't mean much, but your labor is acknowledged as a cost, and cost is not taxable. Your labor is acknowledged as a cost because it's your personal private property. When you are exerting your labor, whether your brains and muscles, okay, you're using your
Uh,
labor.
I
You
think the
can't get
point I
the
was trying to
cost
make
back.
is,
It's acknowledged as a cost,
you
and that's
know,
not taxable.
yeah, I know, but I mean, the argument is solid, but here's the thing. Whether you're
Well,
paying the money in tax on the front end or whether you're paying it on the back end, it hardly makes a difference. In other words, that's the point. I think that's the bottom line point that I was trying to make. You could pay it on the front end through your paycheck, or you could pay it at the back end at the store when you go and you buy things that you need in
well,
order to
sure,
live.
they can legally do that, but
And so it
they're
becomes it basically becomes a not such a very very important point, Sean, if you don't mind me saying.
yeah. But
Well,
I'm trying to get to the point that when you look at the law, there has to be a law. If the law does not reach you, you can't prosecute somebody if there's no written law.
No,
There
no,
is
no.
no.
That's
Oh, hold on. Okay,
I
hang on.
get that.
There's
I get that point.
there's no statute that makes American citizens liable for the tax code. That's been argued and sustained by the
Yeah, but
Supreme
it
Court.
doesn't. But you understand my point that it doesn't really matter. It's smoke and mirrors. It
Well, they
doesn't
could
really
do that. That's
matter.
fine. But what I'm
It
saying
doesn't really
is,
matter if you're paying it in the front end or you're paying it in the back end. So it doesn't bother me
why
in the
pay
least
35%
that
of your labor when you don't have to?
people believe that they do or don't have to pay the tax. It's neither here nor there because the government is going to figure out a way in order to get the money out of your pocket into theirs. That's the whole point.
yeah, but the thing
You
is,
know?
Yeah,
if you're
but,
not, your labor is not taxed, but your purchases are, you
Right.
control what you purchase, not the
Right.
yes,
government.
exactly.
Yeah, but, Larry, I understand that, but you're in a consumer driven economy.
Sure. But
But
that
Yeah.
let
doesn't
me
mean you
tell you,
can't control what you buy.
People are
a,
compelled to spend money. People are compelled to spend money.
a
You
lot
know,
of rich people don't pay taxes, and that's a lot of people's complaint. And I try
right.
telling them, they come and find somebody like me who knows, and they hire me to get them out of that tax because why? I know the tax law. I know how the courts operate. I know how the courts argue. I know how the courts had ruled, and I win with a brief. Yeah,
Oh, by the
if
way,
you go
hey,
to court, okay, hang on,
this
go
is
ahead.
this is a good point to make here also. So you're not, by the way, in case you don't know it, in Thailand and Philippines, you're not taxed twice for the same income. So your pension fund is not taxed by the Thai government, and your pension fund is also not taxed by the Filipino government.
But here in the
So
states,
that's also
your labor shouldn't
that's
be
a good
taxed
thing
at all.
that's a good thing to know. But if you go to the Philippines or Thailand and you seek employment, that income generated from employment has to be reported both to the U.S., to the Internal Revenue Service, and to the country for which you're
Hmm.
making the income in.
Yeah, would I
And
be
so
shocked for you to learn that the IRS's authority only resides in Washington D.C. and nowhere else, and that's written in the tax code and law?
I don't spend a
Would
whole
you?
lot of time thinking about it. My life is pretty good. It's
But
pretty good
everybody
right
assumes, but everybody, but everybody assumes the IRS has authority outside of Washington D.C.,
Yeah,
which
yeah,
they don't.
I know that what you're saying is there's some validity to it, but it doesn't impact my life because I'm a tax paying member of society. So, you
Yeah.
know,
Well, I'm a taxpayer too. It just depends on
you
what
know,
tax you're talking about.
in other words, I'm kind of like, yeah, I realize all these things exist, but I'm more of a lover than a fighter. Let's put it that way.
Yeah, but see,
So, you know, and plus, because I don't understand enough about how the machine works, what what gasoline they're using and how it fires those cylinders, I'm a little bit nervous about not paying my taxes because I don't want to put anybody else in harm's way, and that there is the God's honest truth also. So I don't spend a whole bunch of time thinking about it. And plus,
Mhm.
as you know, Sean, when you reach the point of retirement and you start collecting your pension, that no longer is a concern because you're no longer taxed. You're no longer taxed under FICA, so you no longer are making that tax contribution to the federal government, and
Well,
so
it's
you
well,
have
interesting.
you
more
shouldn't be taxing that anyway, but
you
they
have
do.
more disposable income, and so in other words, you have a ton of money to work with, a ton more, and so that's why when you retire, if you reach the point that your take home pay uh, is the same as your retirement pay, then it's a good time to go ahead and call it a day if you can. So that's
Also,
also something that's really, really, really
also,
interesting.
Dan, and it depends on if you stay in the states, what state you live in, because some states tax even Social Security.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you can outflank those states
Yeah,
though.
that's what I'm saying.
And
You just got to pay
yeah,
attention to where you're going to retire because they're
no,
going to.
it's true. It's true. You have to pay attention to where you're gonna. Except here's the thing. Here's the thing about the state of California. In case you don't know, once you once you earn the pension there, you pay taxes to the state of California. So that's just the way it is. To get out of it is a nightmare. To get out of having to pay the taxes and to prove residency is a
Well, what
nightmare.
taxes?
California, we're talking about state taxes now. In the case
Well,
of
if you
state
defeat
taxes,
federal, you defeated state tax too.
California is opening up offices in Arizona, Nevada, Texas, and the reason why they have those offices there is because they're going to they do the investigative work for residency in those states. In
Okay.
other words, that's how much the tax revenue makes to the state of California. That's how much it means to them, is that they're going to go chase you to the states that are most popular. They're going to open up tax offices there, and they're going to pursue the collecting of those taxes through those offices.
Yeah, and if somebody knows the law like me, they'll be acquitted. And let me tell you about let me just give you the Social
Well,
Security.
it's a
This is
civil, it's a civil, not a criminal matter in that case.
yeah. Well, anyway, let me give you the Social Security argument that David Merlin has argued many times, and it's been sustained in court. This is what he put. Social Security applies only to the citizens found in definitions in IRC 1402B and 3121E, and in 42 USC 411B2, and each of those fails to include anyone other than the citizens of the United States. Okay. Now, if you wanted a pencil, I'll give you those statutes that
No,
are
listen, I'm not
down
that,
there.
Sean, I think you're missing my point. I'm not that interested in talking about it. I think you're missing my point, man.
Well,
I don't
I'm
go
trying to tell you that the
no, but
people.
it's my YouTube channel. I don't spend a lot of time thinking about these things. You know, I mean,
Well, I'm
they're
talking about
boring.
Social Security.
Don, these things are boring to me, and I'm going to move you. I'm going to remove you now from the chat because this stuff, it doesn't mean anything from me. You know,
No, this is helpful information.
it's not to me. What we're talking about is Thailand's and the Philippines. We're not talking about IRS tax code. And so those are things that we could talk about and pursue on your channel. They're important, and I'm not saying they're not important, but we could talk about these in the future on your channel. You know, what I'm addressing are economic reasons for moving to either Thailand or the Philippines. Those are the things that I'm interested in. And so the economy and taxation, the way that you're presenting it, those things that they're not in my sphere of influence. They're not things that I'm interested in at all. What's your comment about that? Do you have anything to say on that or contribution, Larry, that way?
No, like I said, you got to, when a person retires, especially somebody like me, I
Right,
don't have a pension.
right,
I got to look at the best place for me to live that I can afford when I'm ready to retire, not to work anymore. Be
exactly,
that the Philippines, be that Mexico or South America or some other state in the United States. It's
right.
not going to be where I'm at. I live in New
Gotcha.
York.
You see, the reason why I like listening to you is because you're retiring at full retirement age. You see, that's the whole thing. And I didn't wait to full retirement age. You know, I decided to retire early. And there's reasons why you would want to work until full retirement age, you know, or to age 70. I mean, very important reasons so that you can max out that Social Security pension, which is going to be very, very helpful wherever you decide that you're going to lay your head down, whether it be, you know, in Mexico, as you were pointing out, or other parts of the world, you know, and I see the value in discussing those type of issues.
Well, like,
You know,
well, like,
especially.
like, like I said, my mother's still alive,
Hmm.
so I'm not going anywhere until after she's 96. I'm not
Right.
going anywhere, and
Yeah.
after that, I want my bills paid off. So when I
Hmm.
do leave, wherever I go, I don't have somebody trying to say, "Hey, you owe us money." No, I don't. So go take a flying leap or a
Police.
real long hike on a very short pier. I don't care, but
Right.
my bills will be paid off.
Right.
Now, like I said, I will not retire in New York. I might retire and stay here for a few months, but I'm not living here the rest of my life.
Yeah, I
And
think that New Yorkers they have an obligation to move at least to Florida, don't they?
I think so, but I'm from Indiana, so Texas is an option.
Yeah,
And
those are
a lot of people,
actually good options for places to live, tax
but,
wise.
well, like I said, my mom and dad, when my mom finally retired, my dad went on total disability when he was 46, but my mom kept working because we had, 7 kids in my family. But when
Right.
she finally retired, they went to Texas every winter. And a lot of people from that part of the country, Illinois, Indiana, Kentucky, Ohio, they go to Texas. They're known as snowbirds. They're probably the same thing in Florida. But they go down there close to the Mexican border, uh, stayed at a campground. My mom and dad had a camper they lived in, 30-foot pole, and they also had a 33-foot uh, fifth wheel before they got the pole. And so that's what they lived in. And my youngest sister went down her junior year with them, and then then she didn't go down her senior year. She stayed home, went to school half a day, and worked full time. Which in Indiana you're allowed to do that as long as you got the credits. And I could have done that my senior year, but I wanted to get the hell out of high school and go into service, which is what I did. But it's no, you just said you got to look at what can you afford, and I don't want to have to work. I may work, I might work part time somewhere, but I don't want to have to. And if I do it, like my little sister, she's retired government worker. She was a social worker, uh, worked at the
Hey,
welfare
that's what I
department.
used to do for a living.
She worked at the welfare department, and I wasn't smart
Hmm.
enough to listen to her. She wanted me to go work there, and I could have got in real easy.
Hmm.
I may not act it, and I sure in the hell don't act it. I know that, but I have a college degree, so I
Hmm.
could have got in. But they didn't pay a lot back then.
Oh yeah, they didn't.
But the thing is, I didn't look. I wasn't forward looking.
You
She
know
got
what?
good
I had the
retirement.
same exact thing happen to me, years ago, where I passed up on the government job, where it wasn't paying as much money as I was making at the time. But
Yeah.
I could not see what my life would have looked like 5 years or 10 years into the future. And then later on in life, in my 40s, then I started putting it together a little bit better, and I ended up working in the welfare department in Sacramento County.
Well, like I said, she's got that retirement.
Hmm.
She still hasn't got a Social Security yet because she's quite a bit younger than me. She's only like 61, so she's not old enough to take it yet. And she works part time. She was going to work until she was 62 or older, but she got a new boss. And I won't say exactly what she said about the lady, but she decided to retire because she could retire at 55.
Hmm.
Now, her husband was still working. He also worked for the state. He worked in the state prison system. Now, he's
Wow,
retired. Now, he's
that's good.
retired now. And they both work part time and they take vacations all the time. They like to gamble. That's the main reason they work part time. That's their gambling money.
That's Meanie and I. We spend a little bit too much time in the casino.
Yeah. Well, I used to do that when I was younger. I mean, I used to play the one armed bandits quite a bit when I was in the Navy.
Really?
Overseas. Oh, yeah. Overseas, we had one armed bandits in the enlisted men's club or the all hands club, either one. And back then, it was actually the mechanical one armed bandit. And yeah, I played those a little bit. And I really don't do it anymore. I worked at a racetrack as a security guard in Batavia. They had the Batavia Downs. It's harness racing, but they also had a casino. They had slots and stuff like that, and I was allowed to go in there and play that because I worked the racetrack part. But
Right.
I never did it. It just, I, I don't want to gamble money I don't have to lose. I mean, because to me, I don't mind losing money gambling. Because if I do it, I'm going to take whatever money I
Hey,
got.
you and Minnie would get along just great. She doesn't mind losing money either in gambling. She's laughing.
What I'm saying is, what
She's
you got
laughing
to
at
do.
your statement over here.
What I'm saying is, though, you got to look at how much money you're willing to lose, and once you hit that amount, you got to quit. Hi, Minnie. How you doing?
Hi, doing good. How are
Very
you,
good.
Lazy?
I'm
I think
lazy,
you must
Larry.
say hello to Larry.
Larry.
But anyway, like I said, back then, it'd be like 10, 15 bucks. Nowadays, if you really wanted to gamble, you'd have to take maybe 50 to 100. But
Yeah, I do on $20, and if I make it or break it on $20.
well, that's fine. Like I said, you got to pick out an
Yeah.
amount, and when you're done, if you lose it all, quit, walk away.
Yeah,
And if you lasted for a few hours, you had a great time. Look how much money you would spend going to the restaurant, going to the bar. How much money would you spend doing that
right.
night out?
That's pretty much the way that I think about
Yeah.
stuff like
Well, like I
that.
said, so I'm not against gambling. It's just right now I don't even go to the bar. I don't even go to the restaurant. If I was going to do any one of the three, it would be go out and eat. I mean, come on, look at me. I like to eat. I don't
Me
like.
too.
I don't drink and drive. There's no bar close enough to me that I can walk to and come back home. You know, I've lived in places where I could do that, but I've also lived at places, the bars I could walk to, you could take and stick it to where the sun don't shine because I didn't like the bars. So I haven't had a drink in over 3 years. It's not because I don't drink. Like I said, I don't drink and drive, and there's no bars around that I want to walk to and walk home from. So it's kind of like, well, last time I had a drink, I was staying at my youngest sister's house. Her and her husband drank. I had a few beers with them, and I spent the night.
Plus, drinking's expensive too. That's the other thing.
Oh, it is if you go to the bar.
Yeah, and so yeah, but interestingly, here in Thailand, you could drink pretty inexpensively. You actually can go into a 7-Eleven and buy a beer if you want to, open it up, and then drink it on as you're walking down the street.
Well, I don't doubt that. You can do that in the Philippines in some places.
Yeah,
Now,
you probably can do
was,
it in the
when I
Philippines
was
also.
there, I don't know if they still do this or not, but Sam McGill had two different types of bottles. They had the painted label, which was actually painted on the bottle, and then they had the kind of label that you could peel off.
Right.
Now, me and my fellow sailors that I ran around with, we all preferred the painted label. And this was in Subic Bay. And back then, a lot of guys would take a case of beer that they'd drank, and there was some guy that they'd take it to, and he'd cut off the tops, and you'd have like a dozen, beer glasses or whatever. And then he'd take the other 12 and take the top and glue it to the bottom, so you had wine goblets. And the guys took those home as souvenirs. And it was the painted label ones. And, and I'll tell you something else. Now, when I was there, you go to the bars, all the bars, well, I shouldn't say all, most of the bars had bands. And
Right, they have that. Give me some orientation. Where are we talking? Subic Bay?
Yeah, I was in Subic Bay.
Subic Bay, yeah.
Yeah, I was there. I was there actually 3 times. The first time don't count.
Right.
The first time didn't count because I never got off the ship. We
Oh.
pulled in. Well, this is my first Westpac. We're getting ready to go back states, and we pull in. One guy gets off, one guy gets on, and they brought on some supplies. So unless you were part of the party going on and getting the supplies and bringing it back, they wouldn't let you off the ship. It's like,
Right.
no, you can't get off because they were afraid, you might jump. And our captain, Captain Jack, I can't remember his last name, but everybody just called him Captain Jack. He had a son graduating from high school. I believe it was high school. And he wanted to make sure he was back in time for his son's graduation. So
Right.
we had the time. We could have spent a night or two in the Philippines, but he wasn't taking any chances because bad weather, whatever. So the last couple of days, I mean, we went real slow, and then we kind of did big circles until it was time to go in, and then we went in. Now my second Westpac, we went in for about 10 days. Left, went to Okinawa, which is part of Japan, and then we went back to the Philippines for about 2.5, 3 months.
Wow. Nice.
Yeah, well, my ship was a repair type ship. Our work was in port. Uh, Being out to sea playing games. This is my first ship, the only ship I made Westpacks on. Uh, was non-combat. I mean, when I first got on, she had a couple 5-inch guns. They took them off. She was an old ship when I got on. She was already 32 years old. She was built in 1940, commissioned in 1940. So she served all the way through World War II, Korea, and Vietnam. I got on when I was on her. Vietnam was going on, and our orders to Vietnam were canceled when we were sent in Yokosuka, Japan, because of the Paris peace talks. Which
Right. Wow.
you don't, even though we were non-combat, they were afraid if they sent us there, it would be construed as stepping up the war effort. Because
Gotcha.
the reason
Makes
for that
sense.
is, like I said, because we're a repair ship. So ships that would have had to leave to get repaired now could stay right there, and we could repair them. And we weren't replacing another repair ship. So, being there wasn't another ship like us to replace, we didn't. Our orders were canceled. So that's as close as I came to know. And my next time over, Nam was over. And, but yeah, like I said, I've been on 3 different ships, and
Hmm.
the only one I made Westpacks on was the Dixie AD-14. Now I was on what we called a Gator Navy, an LST 1184, the Frederick, and then I was on a nuclear cruiser, CGN-9, the Long Beach, and both of them went out and played games. They weren't near as much fun. I mean, I spent 21 days out at sea on the Frederick.
Yeah.
All right, 21 days out at sea on the Frederick, and every night I could see San Diego because we were out playing war games.
Oh, that's right. You've been to San Diego.
Yeah, so I hated it because, I mean, 21 days I could have been in Yokosuka, Japan.
Sure.
So if I'm going to spend 27, even 21 days out at sea, 15 days out at sea, I'm going to go somewhere different. I mean, I love the travel part of it. I didn't like those playing war games.
Hmm. Gotcha. Well, so you got a taste of it. So you got a taste of what it's like to be in certain areas of the world. And I find when I'm overseas that a lot of the people that I run into that have transplanted themselves to the other countries, whether it's Thailand or the Philippines, they're former military. They're people that have traveled around that were military, and they fell in love with something. And so when I was back home in California, it's always interesting that when people ask, what I'm up to, where I'm going to be living, where I'm going, they're very curious into as the reason why, but they're always very centered, on the fact that they focus a lot on saying things like the United States is one of the greatest countries in the world. I don't know why you'd want to leave it, and blah 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 blah. But usually those statements and statements like it come from people that have never traveled anywhere. They haven't traveled anywhere around the world. For example, if you go to the Philippines, there are an awful lot of people that will tell you that they want to go to the United States, but the main objective would be because they can earn money, in the United States and send it back to their families.
Oh yeah.
Right. And that would be the main reason. But once
Well,
they get here, for example, once they get here, they're not so thrilled to be living in the United States where the cost of living is 10 or 20 times higher than they anticipated, and they have to work twice as hard, just like everybody else does, in order to afford to be able to send money back to their families in the Philippines. A lot of Filipinos, as you know, come to the United States, they earn their money, and when they reach retirement age, they head back home. One
Well,
example of a YouTube channel that I enjoy watching is Filipino nurse returning home. You know, she's very straightforward in presenting her ideas and what she's going through and what needs to be done in order to make that transition from the United States to the Philippines happen.
all
But
right.
if
Now,
she, I figure it like this: if people like that can see it, people that travel can easily see the benefits of living other places around the world if they get off their butt and they actually travel and go and do it. I understand the restrictions people in Thailand and the Philippines have. You know, it's very, very difficult to get visas in order to get to the United States or some other Western country. But until you actually do get off the couch and you go and you see the world to see what it has to offer, you wouldn't know the benefits of living overseas. And that's one of the points that I wanted to make today in the live before we got onto that other tangent with the tax code
well,
is that you know people need to actually go someplace in order to see the benefits of and the beauty of living somewhere else. It might get you to start thinking of start the thought process that yes, there are other places in the world where you can have a Western style of of living where it won't cost you an arm and a leg and you won't have to work so hard in order to accumulate those, in order to accumulate money to be able to do those things.
well, now you got to remember. Now you do have the ugly American that travels, and by this I mean he goes somewhere and it's not like America, so it's no good. He doesn't get
Well,
out and
that's a good point that
find.
you're making there.
They
I haven't run into any folks like that. Of course, I haven't run into too many Americans over here so far. I think a lot of the Westerners are coming from Australia and they're coming from the UK. And I'm curious about that. I'm curious about why we're not seeing
well, you're closer. You're closer to
Asia.
Australia there in Thailand.
Right. You're really close to Australia,
Yeah,
exactly.
so I think that's why you'll see a lot more Australian and New Zealanders there. There probably
Mhm.
are some Americans, but they're fewer. And from what I hear, it's more family oriented. Most of them have their families with them, so they're not running around as much.
That was one of the other things that I noticed is that there are a ton of families that are over here right now.
Yeah,
And so we're in Chinatown right now. We see people. Of course, Chinatown is known to be foodie haven, or foodie
yeah,
heaven. And so but what I'm seeing is I'm seeing a lot of families that are coming through, and I mean I'm amazed at it. I'm amazed at how many families that we're seeing with little
yeah.
children that they're pushing around in strollers and things like that, which really puts a great big smile on my face because they're teaching them the value of travel and they're
Yeah.
teaching them at a young age that it is not that it's part of a normal life to
Right.
take a vacation overseas and visit a foreign country to see how other people live.
Well, another reason why, for me, I would choose the Philippines over Thailand is the Philippines is a little more open to if you're not quite as well off because if you notice they want a lot more money to go to Thailand to stay, but
Yeah.
that's only part of it. Now, unlike Robert, I was in special forces. As a matter of fact, I was in a ship serviceman. I was in supply, and my rate no longer exists. They
Hmm.
rolled it into storekeepers. The ship
Right.
serviceman,
Yeah.
our ship serviceman was a barber, a laundryman, candy. He ran the Navy PXs or the ship PX, ran the candy stores, and and if you had or large enough, you had a dry cleaner and tailor shops. That was us. The
Hmm.
storekeepers did all the supplies for the ship that the ship needed, not the personnel. We were the personnel people. And I was a barber, and I also worked in the laundry. Now, in my division, when on the Dixie, we were almost evenly divided among three groups of people: whites, blacks, and Filipinos, or Hispanic. Because but you were almost one third of each. made up my division, and it was, people chose it. I chose it. I was given a choice of a couple, and I took that one. And but it was great. So you got to meet other people. You had to work with other people from a different culture than yourself. So I truly enjoyed it. But like I said, I was only in for a little over 6 years. Robert will understand this. I made E4 twice.
Hmm.
You know, you know how you make it twice, don't you? You get busted once.
That's right.
Yeah, you
That's
have to
right.
get busted once so you can make it a second time. Uh, I was a drunk back then. Uh, I loved to party, and I had trouble getting up in the morning, so I was always late. Not always, but quite a few times. And I had it set up that I was going to get a 6 month suspended bust. And the day I was going in front of the captain, I was late.
Oh
So
no.
I got busted, and then I made it back, But I had a friend that was a ship serviceman. He did 20 years, and he could never get out of the rate because, unlike the storekeepers, the ship serviceman rate closed up. People just didn't get out, and to get out of to change your rate, you have to make E5, okay, and then
Hmm.
you put it for a rate that you're qualified for, and you can transfer over to a rate that needs you. Well, like I said, he did 20 years and never got above E4. Not because he got in trouble, but because there was no openings. He P&A'd the test every time. P&A means pass but not advance. There just wasn't openings. As long as he P&A'd the test, they let him stay in. So, like I said, he did 20 years, retired as an E4, and, but later on, like I said, because there was always short of storekeepers, always a lot of ship servicemen that combined the two rates, did away with the ship servicemen and just now storekeepers. That was
Hey,
back.
hey, you know what? While you're talking, my brain is going 90 miles an hour, and I want to ask you a couple questions, right?
All right.
One of the things that dawned on me was back then when you were in Subi, what was communicating like back then? Because now English is pushed in school all across the Philippines. So what I'm curious about is, was English that pervasive then during that time that you were at Subi?
In Subic, yes. I don't know about the rest of the country.
Uh-huh.
In Subic, I had no trouble at all. As a matter of fact, I got away with quite a bit because believe it or not, people thought I was an AFP. I guess
Hmm.
there was an AFP, which is Armed Force Police, okay? And there was an AFP guy there that looked like me.
Right.
So people thought, oh, he's AFP, leave him alone.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
That's pretty funny.
So I
Yeah.
got away with a few things like, I could, I
So
could,
one of the differences between Thailand and the Philippines is, of course, the language issue. So in Thailand, of course, if you're in the tourist areas, the thing that I notice is that they speak English. It's not. I didn't notice it was fluent, but it's enough to get by. So when you're going into a restaurant in Thailand, or you want to get some other service, they have menu boards set up with pictures. So you're there for obvious reasons, right? You're there for
yeah.
to eat, to exchange money, to bank, to do this, to this. So they've learned that they could illustrate or put up a menu board, illustrate everything in pictures, and then all you have to do is go up and point. And so if you want to eat something, if you're in Thailand, you just go one of these or two of these and one of these, and then they
Well,
just write it down. They go get your food for you.
one of the things when I was in Beijing, China, back in
Uh-huh.
'99, I went there on vacation for 3 weeks with some
Wow,
friends.
nice.
Yeah. And we went to an A&W root beer, and I got the
Hmm.
menu still. On one side is English, the other side is Chinese. So you go read the English, check what you want, and they can just check that against the Chinese, and you get what you wanted.
Oh,
So,
I
so you
got you.
didn't have to point. That was just
That's pretty smart. I
oh yeah.
like that idea a lot better. I like that a
I,
lot better.
I kept one of the menus because I thought that was pretty cool. And
Wow. Do you still have it? One
oh
of the
yeah,
menus?
oh yeah.
That's
I got it.
fantastic.
I got it in one of my in a photo album of just my trip to China. I got a
Oh
photo album.
man, man, I would love to have a picture of that. I would love absolutely, especially to use it like as a thumbnail or something like that. That would
But
be a riot. Or maybe
yeah,
you want to use it for one of your videos. I don't know in the future.
I
But
need to
anyway,
get,
so
I
the
need to get the
interesting,
pictures.
really interesting thing. The other point is that but of course, cost of living. There's going to be a big difference between 1999 and the present, or when you were there last at Subic.
Oh yeah,
But,
because when I was in Subic, we got 9 pesos to $1.
right,
Basically, you could get 10 on the black market. So basically, a peso was worth a dime.
gotcha.
Which that was good money for us. But
Right,
compared to today, inflation's really killed them.
right. Inflation, and so
Oh,
whenever a Westerner starts talking about, man, I'm getting this great rate over there in the Philippines. The Filipino people are suffering
oh yeah.
because so they're going over there to the supermarket. They're driving up the price of chicken, of rice, of all the basic staples that they need in order to survive. And so that's not something that I'm gonna go out and celebrate. Um,
No, and what is it now? 55, 56
yeah,
pesos?
something like that. And so that there's another segue here, and that is that when you compare the two economies, so between Thailand and the Philippines, you're getting 36 to 1 on your money here in Thailand, and you're getting like 55 or 56 in pesos. But I can tell you the 36 to 1 money is going, it seems to me anyway, it seems to be going a lot further than the 55 that you're getting in the Philippines. And
Well,
so I'm not sure exactly why that is. I'm not sure
well,
why there's that disparity in the money. But
uh,
36 to 1 is like getting 56 to 1 in the Philippines to me.
it's probably just the way the cost of living's done.
Right.
Uh, uh, you got to
But you
look
could
at.
easily, Larry, for example, you could easily, in Jomtien Beach, where Minnie and I visited, no kidding, you could easily get a beachfront condominium facing the white sandy beach, or at the very least, in one of the alleyways that's about a 2-minute walk from your condo to the beach. And we're talking white sandy beach, like in San Diego.
Yeah,
We're talking Huntington Beach type beach, right?
yeah,
You can easily get that or find that for $300 a month or less.
yeah. But the thing is, you'd have less trouble there in Thailand than you would at Huntington Beach.
Well, I'll tell you this,
At least when I was in San Diego, everybody's down there selling drugs. At,
right?
I'm trying to think of the name of that beach, right? Imperial Beach. They were, and you go walking in, and they go, "Need marijuana? Got speed?"
Right.
And it's like, no man.
Well,
All
here's
right.
the thing that I noticed. Here's one of the things I noticed. Right, no gunshots going off in the middle of the night,
Yeah.
and
Well,
I face that every single day of my entire existence in Sacramento.
see, I live in a much better area than you. I've not heard a gunshot once, and I've been here over a year. All right.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I lived in a little place called Leroy, New York, which is closer to Rochester, but between Rochester and Buffalo. I worked in Rochester, and I never heard anything there either. But it was a small town.
Right.
There was some shootings in there, but it would normally involve family members on the other side of town from where I lived, and I even knew
No,
people that got
hey,
shot.
it's interesting, Larry. In Sacramento, they even have those spotters. What are they called?
Oh
They
yeah,
have
the one.
those things.
Yeah, they do the triangulation where the
Right.
shot.
They do the triangulation, and every night, if you listen to the police calls of service, every 5 or 10 minutes, there's a call for service saying gunshot, and then they give the location.
Yeah.
Gunshot, then they give the location. So I mean, the thing is, they've actually a couple times they've gone to those locations when they had manpower available to investigate them. That is, because the police are short staffed in Sacramento, California, and
Probably all of
they would
California.
they have actually found bodies lying there in the exact location where the gunfire, within
Right.
proximity
Well,
of the location. So the spotters work. The problem is they don't have a police force. They don't have enough personnel to investigate or go to in a timely manner each one of those detections.
Oh yeah, like I said, that triangulation. Whoever came up with that, I think it's like
Tim,
three. I think it's like three
Buddha.
points. 3 points. And I got a question for you. What does that
Yeah.
mean? Everybody's
This
doing
one's love. This is love.
this. This is love. Do
This
you
is
put
love.
your thumb
Yes.
there?
So, like a
Or
heart.
okay,
It's like the
okay.
V
Like
shape
this is
in the
love.
heart.
All right. So
Love, joy.
sign language. This is I love you in sign language.
Yeah, this is love.
That's from Japanese.
But now if you go I love you in sign language, you go like this, it means fly.
Means fly.
See
But
this is
man.
I and love. So
So that's why. See, I never even knew that's why you see T-shirts that have that on it.
yeah, it's I love you.
Yeah, it's I
But then
love you. Right.
if you make a movement with it, then it's fly.
Tim, thanks for coming back. I appreciate you being here, man. I'm looking forward to meeting Tim over at Tequila Reef, where Marco hangs out now and again. I want to know if I'm going to do a girl watching Tequila Reef video.
Now, if you want to tell Minnie that she's real pretty,
Well, yeah, of course. Well,
you-
I was gonna put Minnie out there in front of Tequila Reef, and I was gonna videotape her walking by.
okay.
You know,
but
as
when
sort
you
of a
point at
fun
her,
thing to do.
you point
Huh?
at her like you, then you
Yeah.
make this symbol, which is an R. You
Uh-huh.
are, then you pull it away, real
Right.
pretty.
Real pretty. Oh, okay. Real pretty.
I took sign language while I was in college. We're talking too many years ago for me to remember all of it. Besides
Yeah.
that, I have to go like this to do a 3 because if I try to do a 3 otherwise, as you can see, arthritis in both hands. I can't do it. I have to do it this way. So I can't do all the symbols anymore. So I've forgotten a lot of them because I haven't used it in years. It's like anything else. If you don't use it, you lose it.
Right. Exactly. So, yeah. So the other thing is, I think that I think the point I was going to make about the housing thing comparison between Thailand and the Philippines is, through my observation, is it would be way more expensive by maybe even 50% for you to be able to duplicate the same type of living, where you could live beachside in the Philippines somewhere, like in Mactan or somewhere like that, or maybe even Porto Galera, than it would be in Thailand. Now, but I'm not sure if that's because there's still a lot of post-pandemic bargaining going on. I could tell you that this room right here is half the price that you would pay for a room at a Motel 6 in any city in the U.S. of A. And so I would say that this room, if you're using the star system, 5-star being the highest and 1 being the lowest, you probably got about if you're comparing it to a Motel 6, you're probably looking at about 3.5 to 4 stars. It's that comfortable. It's not very large, but it's very, very well thought out, very comfortable, and I'm amazed that you can get it at such a low rate. And so I know that was a promo in order to get people to come back to touring Thailand. A lot of people are offering promos. I don't know if I shared this.
Filipino P? Dan, do you know who the Filipino P is?
Yeah, I watch her all the time. Yeah.
All right. Did you see her videos on Thailand?
Yeah, I was able to watch a couple of them, and I love the one where she went down to Walking Street,
yeah,
in Pattaya, and then she focused on her singing. Yeah. I was amazed. I mean, she revealed something about herself that I never even knew, and that was that she's totally fabulous in terms of entertaining and singing. And I was just totally amazed by that.
Well, she showed 3 different hotels that I guess she stayed at, or maybe she just went in and checked on them. I don't know. And she said nobody knew who she was, or she was wanting to do a video. She went in and checked, and she goes, "I didn't choose them all. The 3 I chose." And it was like $70, $80, and I think $100.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll tell you the truth, that $80 the $70 was nice, It's the $80 one, and I think that was in Pattaya, or however you pronounce it. It was
Pattaya,
really
yeah,
nice. Yeah, it was
Pattaya,
really nice.
Pattaya. Yeah.
The $100 one was too, but that was really luxury. That was probably a 5-star. And
Right. No, you can do it. It can be done. Yeah, it's amazing. I'm telling you.
and
But my wife, see, here's the thing that we're dealing with. You can get used to this.
yes,
That's the
you can.
problem with it. And
Oh,
I
yes,
talked
you
earlier about living on a shoestring budget. So let me tell you how I was able to pull this off. And I probably have already mentioned this in another live stream. But so we left in the middle of the month last month to come over here. Now, rent, including utilities and everything, in the apartment that we had there in Sacramento, if you run the hard numbers, you're looking at about $1,800 per month. So we
Yeah.
left in the middle of the month. So I was telling Minnie, I said, so our budget should be underneath that, minus the money that we had to pay because our lease expired. We paid half of the month of July. Are you following me?
Oh yeah.
So we have the rest of the budget from July to dedicate towards housing or accommodation here in Thailand.
Yeah.
And so that's the budget that we use. So for the month of July, you could say that we paid exactly the same amount for rent that we did the prior month living in Sacramento.
Yeah.
And that included living in guest houses for a couple weeks, as well as the most luxurious hotel, I guess, would be at the airport in Bangkok, the one that's only like about a 2-minute on site at the airport in Bangkok. We stayed there for one night. I think it was $250. So including that, we've been able to stay under the budget. So now the month of August, I don't have to pay rent. All the $1,800 can be dedicated towards accommodation.
Yeah.
But do you think that I'll get anywhere near spending $1,800 in the month of August for accommodation?
No, not for accommodation, but maybe for the
Yeah.
whole month, for everything.
For the whole thing?
Yeah.
I'm
For travel.
thinking yes.
Travel,
I'm thinking
food,
it's
the whole
gonna cover
bit.
the cost of the entire trip.
Yeah.
And so
Now,
in
you take
August,
You take your
What-
$1,800 a month for
Yeah.
your rent. All right.
right.
That would pay me my rent for almost 3 months.
Oh wow, that's
Well,
huge.
see, I live in a smaller area. I don't
Right.
live in Albany. I live outside of it. All right. I don't live anywhere near New York City, which would cost you an arm and a leg. My place, if I got a place in New York City, your 1,800 would give me a dump in New York City.
You're 1,800. You'd be rooming with somebody,
Yeah.
and
If I
you might
didn't
not
get a
even
dump.
have. Yeah, you might not even have your own dedicated room. You would have maybe 2 beds in one room. You'd be
Sure.
sharing it with somebody.
I got a 1-bedroom apartment. I got a nice
Yeah.
big. I'm in my bedroom, as you can see,
Mm-hmm.
and I got a living room, which is actually a little bit bigger than this. Now, my living room is also my dining room, so I got a
You know
small
what?
kitchen.
I got to tell you, I like your life. I really do. Almost to the point where I want it.
You don't
I got to
want
tell you that I've thought about this a lot. Yeah, if I were, listen, Minnie and I, we even at that $800, we were reducing our expenses as much as possible in order to save as much as we possibly could to make this move, and it's worked out absolutely fine. But that's what you get in Sacramento. You get a 1-bedroom apartment, and shared dining living room, and it was an older unit too. It wasn't newer.
Mine's older. That's one
Yeah,
reason why it's new. As cheap as
but
it is.
I mean, if I were able to pay $500 to $600 a month rent, that's beautiful. But we're going, of course, to Bye Bye City Leyte, where the rent is
Free.
0 because we
Well-
cash flowed the building of that house.
A friend of mine's mother and father, they moved out. But
Yeah.
her father passed away, and her mom's living with her now. But anyway, their apartment was an older building, like probably about as old as I am. But where they were at, it was about $1,000 a month
Right.
for 1 bedroom.
Mhm.
But it was in a much like I'm in Waterville. It's one of the, but I'm outside of it. I'm not in the city or the whatever you want to call it.
Whoa, check this out. Hey, Buddha, by the way, Sammy didn't say hi because I think Sammy is in the background. Sammy said she had to run into town and she was going to leave the computer running. And Robert is probably talking to Sammy. So Robert's voice we haven't heard in a while.
Yeah.
So that's the story on that. And Buddha's packing.
Because Robert is not feeling too good right now, Dan. I apologize.
Oh, no. Oh, glad for chiming in because we were about ready to send EMTs to your house. So, but check this out, guys. So Tim is chiming in here saying $1,800 is the total expenses for 2 months. And so when I tell people that our budget is going to be somewhere or 500 or 600 a month, they just kind of like, they're like, no, it's unbelievable. You can't live on that, but you can live on that. And if you look at what Tim's saying, Tim is probably living very comfortably on the $1,800 expenses for 2 months. That's $900 per month. And just got through telling us that he just got back from the gym. Well, you have to pay a gym subscription fee, I would imagine.
Yeah, you got your electricity,
Yeah,
you got your water, you got.
Yeah, you got all that stuff you got to pay for. Electricity is probably as much of an expense as rent is. And that's one of the things that Minnie and I are talking about right now. We're talking about, the high cost of electricity in the Philippines. It's going crazy. It's causing a lot of suffering there in the Philippines. And we're tossing ideas back and forth as how to mitigate those costs. And solar is an option, but you don't have to go with a full solar panel array. You can do it by just offsetting the cost of electricity a little bit, and so that's what we're kind of debating right now. But you can do it, folks. Tim is doing it at $900 a month. And Tim, I don't, if you want to chime in here, are you suffering? Are you suffering there in the Philippines? Are you wanting for anything? You could definitely do it for 900 or $1,000 a month here in Thailand. I can tell you that, especially in the city of Chiang Mai, that Minnie and I, which is to the north of Bangkok, that Minnie and I just spent 2 weeks in. You definitely can do it. We had an apartment there for 2 weeks, and our total cost for that apartment was, I think, $109 for 2 weeks.
I'll tell you the truth. I did look at some bloggers in Thailand, but the thing I don't like is that you have to be somebody with you or stay in tourist areas only because you're English. And then, like I said, they want to raise the money, and it seems like they really don't want a lot of expats there. So,
well, that's a good point that you're making, and that needs to be talked about just a little bit. They're very culturally sensitive there. When you go around, you'll see signs, and basically the signs are they're saying, bottom line, respect our culture.
Oh yeah.
So when you go to visit the Buddhist temples and some of the ancient cities and that
take your shoes off.
Thing, yes, they want you to respect their culture, and people do. I didn't see anybody make any kind of cultural faux pas, if you will, at all the entire time that we were there, and we've been here, and Minnie and I certainly haven't done it. Tim is saying that covers groceries, rent, gym, electric, internet with cable TV. So I mean, that's all you need, for a happy life. And a partner. You need a partner.
Dan, you used to watch the Filipino Info channel, right?
Right, I still do, yeah.
All right, so do I. Now, Stephen says, you need 1,500 to 2,000. And the way he talks about the budget, he's probably correct. But the way I would talk about the budget, no, I don't. Because I don't include what I'm saving.
Right.
I'm looking at what I'm going to spend to live, not what I'm going to save.
Exactly.
So, I mean, I really, he upset
his lifestyle, he looks like, Steve, honestly, he really looks like he's enjoying his time there.
Oh, yeah. And
he really does. It comes across YouTube clear as a bell. I mean, it really does.
Oh, yeah. I enjoy his channel, but like I said, I just had a hard time with what he was calling the sweetheart budget. And then I realized, he's talking about also the money You need to set.
Oh, you saw the one where he's talking about the sweet spot budget. That's
Yeah.
right. Yeah, I remember. I saw it.
And
So yeah,
like
it is really the sweet spot. You know, it is the
yeah,
sweet
but like I
spot.
said though, I was thinking, no, I don't need that much money. You know,
Right.
I only need, like less than $1,000 to live.
Oh,
But,
you can do it. I'm
yeah,
telling
I
you.
know, but I'm just saying, no. He said, no, you gotta. And then I realized he's talking about also the money you want to save.
Right.
All right. Now I'm an old fart. I'm not looking to if I go to the Philippines, I'm not looking to get married.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not looking to have a girlfriend or a boyfriend. I'm not looking for
Mm-hmm.
that. I'm looking
Right.
for a place to live and have some friends and do some things. That's it.
Mm-hmm.
Now, so I can get by on. I'm talking about what I would spend each month, not what I'm saving. I could get by on 700 to 1,000 easy. All right,
Yeah.
I easily could because if you look at his place, he was showing some really nice apartments for $100 a month.
Oh yeah.
For rent.
I think he said at one point that he started off by paying like $60 a month for his apartment,
Yeah,
and
yeah,
then
but I'm just
invested
saying,
in the AC, things that it needed, amenities that he needed. He just added them.
yeah, but like I said, though, $200
Yeah.
a month. Is, let's say you go 300. If you're going
Right.
1,000, that still leaves you 700. Now it's just me.
So Tim is saying here that it all depends on the lifestyle. Yeah, I believe so. And if you go to
Oh
the
yeah,
clubs, it will be more. Well, I think it's dangerous. In my mind's eye, Tim, it's a little bit dangerous if you're going to be spending all your time on Walking Street or something like that. I mean, but the whole thing is people that I know that have gone there that have started out that way, they don't usually finish that way. They usually get it out of their system, and then once they discover that that stuff is there anytime they want it, then they kind of just like forget about it. Some people have even forgotten that it even exists there. So uh, I think that that's just human nature. That once you discover that whatever you want to avail yourself to is available, then all of a sudden you kind of go, well, there's nothing special about it after a while.
it's like the guy that likes to drink when he's under 21. When he hits 21, he's like, who cares? No, I
Yeah.
wasn't that way, but there's guys that way. But
Well, in New York, I think the drinking age at one time was 18, wasn't it?
I was from Indiana, and it
Yeah.
never went below 21. Illinois did.
Ah,
Illinois did. They went down to 18, then they went up to 19. But by the time they did all that, I was in the Navy out in San Diego, California, which California never went below 21.
oh, hell
So,
no.
but I
Yeah,
could
they're not
drink
even
on
talking
base.
about stuff like that. By the way, in case you're wondering, here's something cultural, a cultural change that happened that I'm not sure will ever take place in the Philippines, but it may. And that is that they legalized the use of marijuana here.
Well, they,
But it's not, you can't go out in public and smoke it. I can't stand the stink.
yeah.
And so quite frankly, in Sacramento, everybody's all smoking that cheap skunk weed.
Oh yeah, I
And so,
know.
but here, yeah, and that crap smells like
It
it's
smells like a
horrible.
skunk almost.
Smells like a skunk. It's horrible, right? So here's the thing: here in Thailand, they don't allow it. You can use it in the comfort of your own home, and I believe there have been some coffee shops or dens opening up, but I'm not sure how they're going to handle that. There's a lot of stuff going on in Thailand about how the intent of the law was this and the intent of the law was that, and so they're trying to straighten out what the definition of the law is, but the health ministry is just kind of saying, "Oh, let's just forget about it. We'll
Well,
figure it out as we'll figure it out as we go along."
well, New York legalized it finally,
Right.
and first it was the shop that you can get for medical, and then they legalized it for recreational. I'm not sure if it's. I know they legalized. I just don't know when they started selling it because I'm not into it.
Right.
It just what, like I said, I had somebody ask me, "Well, do you smoke pot?" And I did, but at that time I didn't. I tried it. I said no. I
Hmm.
said booze is legal. I can,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
and I just, but like I said, I go over there.
That's kind of how that's kind of exactly the way that I was thinking about it. Hey, Robert's saying that he's he's there in the back. He's listening, but his eyes and head aren't doing good right now. Yeah, I don't know, Robert, what to say. It kind of scares me a little bit. Usually,
turn the lights off, Robert, because that can
yeah,
bother
the
your
recovery
eyes.
usually on a stroke or something like that. It's can be anything. It can take a long period or short period of time. When I had my little neurological episode, they weren't really so sure that it was a stroke, but it took a long time in order to, you know, to feel halfway normal again. Let's put it that way.
Hey, Dan.
Yeah.
Well, I apologize, brother. I'm gonna have to step down.
Okay. All right. Well, thanks for coming up. We appreciate it.
Yeah, you know
There's
I love you. You know I love you, brother.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you for being here, man. Take care of
Get better
yourself.
now, Robert. Get better.
Get
And
better.
I love you too, Larry.
Like I said, turn the lights off. I know when I get a real bad headache, the
No,
fluorescent light.
it's past that point.
I just let a fluorescent light till he's
everything was blurry. Now I can't see anything.
Wow.
You better call the medics, man.
Yeah, you should. You really should. That's serious.
Brother, just
Call
hit 911.
They pay for it. It's free. They got everything on board that unit to help you out.
Well, I appreciate the love and concern, brothers, but Senior Chief Robert O. Simmons stepping down.
Two-time E4 Larry saying, good luck, man.
Well, Larry, 16 years, 4 hash marks.
Yeah. Well, I had one, but I never wore it. I did over 6 years. I just never put the hash mark on. I did over 6.5 years active.
Well, I love you both. So y'all take care. All right.
All right. Take care.
Get better, man.
So, hey, Cali King 916 has joined us from Sacramento, California, and so I'm glad Cali King checked in after I said all those things about gunshots in the middle of the night. The Cali King probably can validate that information for me anyway. So they have all these spotters all over Sacramento, where if gunshots go off, they know the location. Problem is they got no cops to follow up on those gunshots, and so they can't leave one emergency to go to another one, to check to see where the gunshot was fired and if anybody was impacted,
Now, Dan,
Anyway,
I was going to say, I will tell you this. When I was in the Navy, when I was home, if I walked into a bar in uniform or showed my ID, I didn't have to be in uniform. If I showed them my ID, they never looked at the age. They'd serve me because I'm from a conservative. It was a Democrat city, but they were conservative Democrats, and they did not protest the war or anything else. They backed the military, and so, like I said, you show an ID, it's like we don't care how old you are. You're in the military. What do you want to drink?
Right.
It was that simple. So, like I said, I was 18, and they lowered the ages to 18 in a lot of states. And then
Tim has a fun factoid. I like reading this.
Yeah. Tim and I got the same age.
That's fun, huh? He was 18 and then went to 19 a year later. 2 years later, went to 21. So that's pretty fun, Tim. That's fun.
Well, you know how it's all 21 anywhere you go now. You know why that is?
Why is that?
The federal government went because Hawaii was 18 for decades.
Oh yeah, that's right.
And the federal government went in and said, "You're not getting any of this money, unless you raise your drinking age to 21."
Oh yeah, I do remember something like that.
They forced Florida and Hawaii to go to 21. Now, we'll see. When I was in Hawaii, before I was 21, it was 18. So I could drink there. So I was, like I said, I was in a few states where I could drink, but I never lived in those states. And like I said, in California it was 21, but on base I couldn't drink hard liquor on base. It was 3-2 beer. What that mean? It means I had to drink a little more to get drunk. I still got
That's all it meant, right?
That's all it meant. I had to drink
beer, something like that. Yeah, but it still had alcohol content in it.
Oh yeah. Yeah, it just meant I had
Tim
to drink
says,
more
Robert, be careful. Robert, I'm serious, man. I'm serious.
I hope he
Get
calls
that
911 if he's
MRI
not seeing
done.
anything.
Earl is joining us. Earl, thanks for joining us. Appreciate it, bruh. And Cali King 916, normal every weekend, and you're right, it's called Spot Responder. We have one in the north side of Sacramento. Yeah, we have. So Minnie and I, we lived at Norwood and Bell, and so every night practically there was gunshot going on, in the middle of the night. And if you have the app and you're listening to the police responses to service, very, very few times were they able to get a car there within 5 minutes. That just is too busy in Sacramento. Not a lot of cops. Not a lot of cops right now. Crime is king right now. Cali King 916.
It's a lot, like I said, right now the politicians, especially the liberal ones, are wanting to defund the police. Now they're finding out, whoops, that's a mistake. At least some of them are, because they see how much the crime rate went up in these places that actually defunded some of the police, and some of them they didn't fire police; they just needed to hire more and wouldn't do it.
Right. Well, we don't have the budget for it. Period. They claim we don't, and plus now no one wants to become a cop because the rules are changing. You can't go shoot people in the back as they're running away no more. Cali King's just pointing out. I'm used to it. Just stay indoors on New Year's because only bullets drop. And I'm telling you, that's where I was, hiding under the bed. I was in an area, I looked for the best place to hide this last New Year's. It was crazy in North Sac. Sounds to me like Cali King and I and Minnie, we all lived in the same neighborhood, just a couple of blocks from each other. So, it was absolutely crazy. That's one thing that I have not experienced in Thailand or the Philippines. Military bases sold 3.2. Okay.
Now we're talking about the Philippines. When I was in the Philippines, Marcos Sr. was in charge, and they had martial law.
Right.
So everybody had to be off the streets at midnight. Now you can be out in your yard, okay, but you couldn't be on the streets. And they had armed military and police with guns walking the streets looking for people being out.
Oh, so maybe there's some connection between that and why you see security officers carrying around shotguns and 22s and M16s in front of the banks and all. And so that could be where the historical underpinnings lie.
It could have been.
Sounds like outside McClellan Air Force Base. Oh, McClellan Air Force Base. McClellan Air Force Base was a war zone, or is a war zone. When you're going down Watt Avenue in North Highlands there, Tim, crazy place to be. Not so much anymore, since the military closed that base down 20 some odd years ago, but it used to be the main stroll there in Sacramento, you might be aware. So not so much crime there anymore, but you still have a lot of that sort of stuff going on, though.
Now, Dan, do you remember when Long Beach used to have a naval base? I'm not talking about Seal Beach. I'm talking about Long Beach.
Are you talking about the Naval Center? The Naval Center there?
They closed it down years ago.
Yeah, where the jets used to fly out of and stuff like that.
Not Miramar.
Miramar.
Not Miramar. Miramar is still open as far as I know, but there was a
Miramar is open. Yeah, you're right.
There was a base in Long Beach, California. Not Seal Beach. Seal Beach is where all the weapons are at.
Right.
That stayed open. Now, I was in Long Beach when it was open, the Navy base. We pulled in going overseas. And the next time I went over, getting ready to go overseas, we pulled into Seal Beach like we did the first time. I went into Long Beach like I did the first time. And the town was dead. It was dead because the military pulled out. Long Beach says, we're big enough, we don't want the Navy. So the Navy said, okay, we'll pull out. And they pulled out. And I'm trying to remember the TV station. KRT, I can't remember. It was a San Diego TV station. After that, and they seen what happened to Long Beach. They said, are we a Navy town? They were bigger than Long Beach, San Diego was.
Oh, yeah.
And they looked at how many servicemen were stationed there, their families, how many civilians worked at the bases. Because in San Diego, there's like 5 or 6 bases, counting the Marine Corps bases. You got Rosecrans, which is Navy. Right next to Rosecrans is the Marine Corps Training Center. And you also
Yeah.
got the Navy Training Center right beside the Marine Corps.
Yeah, my dad was there.
Like I said, there's 3 of them right there. The Marine Corps, the Navy Training Centers, and Rosecrans, which is also training, but it was not boot camp. It's A schools, B schools, that kind of stuff.
Right.
Then you got 32nd Street, which is the big Navy base. Then you got North Island.
Hey, 32nd Street. No, I'm not going to flash gang signs. Hey, let me interrupt you, Larry, momentarily. So Tim is saying that his friend's father disappeared during martial law.
I can believe that, because if they caught you on the streets, from my understanding, they'd shoot you.
Right.
And like I said, though, you also had a sub base downtown. So there was like, I'd say at least 7 bases. And so they did a quick check, and they said something like, counting families and everybody that worked for them, was like 750,000 people connected to the military there. And they said, but anyway, they said they came to the quick conclusion that San Diego was a military town. I was going to say, now you look, if these people just spent $1 a week, you're losing $750,000 a week out of our economy.
Right.
Then you look at all the housing they rent. Well, those are no longer being rented. That money's gone. And see, that's what Long Beach didn't take in consideration. They thought, oh, we'll lose a few bars. The Navy, we'll lose a few bars, no big whoop. But
Man, Long Beach is bougie now. I'm telling you.
It might be, but like I said, back in the 70s.
They have those houses that were built in the 1940s.
Yeah.
They're going for a fortune, man. They're going for over $1 million.
But they're on the coast. Anything on the coast in California is outrageously expensive.
Oh, it's crazy. It's crazy money, Larry, what Minnie and I got for our house. It's crazy.
Oh, yeah.
I almost didn't. I mean, I'm telling you, it was a little scary too at the same time, because selling at the top of the market when you didn't. I mean, that bounce, it just scares me thinking about it. I mean, how could your house possibly be worth double money? From when you bought it.
Well, I had friends in San Diego that were civilians. Matter of fact, I knew her and her husband.
Minnie has a good friend that she grew up with in Bye Bye City Leyte, or Marcos, that she grew up with, that lives in one of those homes that works there in Long Beach. And I mean, when we visited them a few years ago, I mean, I love the little storybook house, man. I couldn't believe it. Yeah. I knew that house was going to be worth big money one day, and I know it's got to be worth over $1 million. That's a friend that is from the same little area in Leyte, and that Minnie grew up in, that she knows her and her entire family.
Yeah.
Very, very nice. Cal King 916 is saying that I think he's referring to McClellan, that my friend still works at delivering parts for the planes. The fire planes have been here taking off every day. Yeah, they're fighting a big fire out of control that's up north, and they're staging there at McClellan. And I think also, is not the Coast Guard still there, or are they at Mather? Is the Coast Guard there, Cal King 916? But anyway, that's still, the economy of that old base there is still rolling right along. I mean, they have warehousing. They probably have FedEx and UPS and everybody else flying in there. It kind of reminds me of Clark in a lot of ways, because Clark has become like a business epicenter for the Philippines. I mean, it has one of the, if I'm not mistaken, correct me if I'm wrong, but it has one of the longest runways in the world. That is what I love about Clark, and what I love about Cebu in Mactan is that you have those long ass runways that if you need to, right, you can land a an Airbus 380 there, and I think Tim said that. Yeah, Tim's saying Long Beach Air Naval Station or Naval Air Station. That's probably what I'm thinking of, the Long Beach Naval Air Station. And also, but Tim was saying earlier in an earlier stream that they only flew one A380 ever into Cebu. And so, anyway, I'm sorry for interrupting. Go ahead, Larry. I gotta get it. I gotta get these ideas out of my head, or else I'll forget them. You know, at
Well,
my age.
that's what happens to me. I forget what you're talking. No, but like I said, though, the radio station, they just figured out real quick. We're military town. You
Cal
can't do it.
916 is chiming in saying 32nd. I know that street of Elkhorn. He's saying. So
32nd Street is right off the coastal highway.
Right.
And you got it's called 32nd Street, but it goes. I can't remember what the other entrance is. That's where the Gator Navy's at the other end. Now, I was stationed at the other end on my third ship. I was stationed at North Island on my second ship. And I don't know if you remember the TV show Simon and Simon.
Yeah, I do.
All right, you remember that big bridge that they would show at the start of the Coronado Bridge?
Yeah.
Well, all the aircraft carriers and I think all the nuclear ships were on the other side from San Diego of that bridge. Now, those of us that were at 32nd Street, when we crossed underneath that bridge, if it was your last Westpac, you'd throw your Dixie cap into the air. The Dixie cap is a white sailor cap. We call them Dixie caps or Dixie cups. And you'd throw that up in the air, and legend was if it came back on the ship, you were going to make another Westpac, and if it didn't, you were done.
Mm-hmm.
Well, mine on my last Westpac hit the rally, teetered a little bit, then fell into the water. I almost went back overseas twice.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, because I wasn't planning on staying in past my 4 years. And then I decided to stay in longer. And
Right.
I got on the Long Beach. And I got into it with a division officer I didn't like. So I got myself off the ship, which was a mistake because somebody beat this boy silly. And I would have been all right. But anyway, then they went down to Australia and all that, which I never did make. And so I almost went on that one. And then I was in line to go overseas to pick up a ship. In North Island, I was going to catch a plane, fly to Hawaii that I was supposed to fly, I think it was to the Philippines. And I'm in line to get on the ship, and they called me back up and says, "Oh, no, your ship's coming back. We're just going to keep you here." I said, "At least let me go to Hawaii." I said, "Let me go."
That was nice, man. That's not bad duty at all, is it?
No, they didn't let me go to Hawaii. I was stuck in San Diego, TAD at North Island. And I had to wait there. It was about a month or more before my ship got there, before I went on her. So, like I said, I almost went over twice, but I didn't go over. And I would have loved to have made that one to Australia because I would have crossed the equator. Now, if Robert was still here, he could tell you. If you cross the equator by ship and you go through the initiation, you're a shellback. Okay? If you don't, you're a polywog. I did over 6.5 years, and I'm still a polywog. Now, my older brother only did 4.5 years, and he was a shellback. And he did his shellback on his very first cruise. He was a plank owner, which is the very first crew of a ship. If you're the very first crew, you're considered a plank owner. And they picked the ship up in Virginia, around Roberts area. I think it was either Portsmouth or Virginia Beach. I can't remember which one. He got trained at one and picked the ship up at the other. And he was going to be stationed in Hawaii. So they took the ship down to the Panama Canal and went through the canal.
Cool.
But to get to the canal, he had to cross the equator. So he went through the initiation. He goes through the canal, and he pulls into San Diego the day I graduate from boot camp. And his company, his captain, his ship's captain, he wasn't a captain, but that's what you call whoever's in charge of the ship is a captain. There's an actual captain, then there's the ship's captain. So anyway, his ship's captain knew knew his brother was graduating from boot camp. So he told him, look, as soon as we pull in that gangplank hits, go. Just go. Go to your brother's graduation. So he was there at my graduation, took a movie of it. So my mom got to see it. And then that's Sunday. Yeah. Sunday. Yeah, that's Sunday, I believe it was. Yeah, it was Sunday. We went to Disneyland, not Disney World, Disneyland. And we got to go for free. All right. The Navy
Oh,
paid.
that's so cool. Disneyland is so damn expensive now.
Yeah, but the Navy provided us buses to go up, gave us tickets to get in. And my company commander, which is what other branches call a drill instructor, we called them company commanders. Well, my company commander saw that my brother was in the Navy and was there for the weekend. So he tells my brother, look, we're going to Disneyland on Sunday. If you show up in your dress blues at such and such time, we'll take you with us for free. So my brother showed up, and then there again, he took movies of it while we were there.
Wow.
He also has movies from when we were out at sea, and you can see dolphins and stuff swimming alongside the ship. I don't know
Oh,
whatever
that's
happened.
cool.
My
That
older
is
brother,
so cool.
my older brother passed away. He was only like 37 when he passed away.
What happened to the tapes? What happened
I
to the
don't
tape?
know. I'd love to find out.
You're gonna have to go search in your mom's attic to see if the tapes are up in there.
Yeah. Well, they won't be in the attic, but they might be somewhere. But hopefully,
Yeah.
one of my like I said, my mom's in a nursing home. She's 96, so hopefully one of my sisters know where they're at. But,
Hey, so check this out. Did you know this? Tim is saying that Mather Air Force Base was an alternate landing site for the space shuttle. I had no idea.
I knew there was an alternate landing, but I wasn't sure where it was.
I thought it was Vandenberg or something like that. You know, I thought, doesn't Vandenberg have a space shuttle launching pad?
Well, the alternate, I don't think they launched them. I think they would transport them by semi back to Florida, or used to wherever they were going to be launched at.
But I thought when you go by Vandenberg, you know, on what's that highway? You can see. I thought that you can see the space shuttle launching pad, the top of the launching pad over the hills as you're driving through the hills.
That's possible. I didn't go up that way. I went to.
Is it 395? I'm thinking about Tim. What's that highway? Anyway.
Like I said, I went to.
I'm blowing bubbles.
I went to Los Angeles, and I'm trying to think of the other city I went to one time. A friend wanted to go home and see his family, so me and another guy who was from LA, we took him up and then dropped him off, and then we stopped off in Los Angeles. Now, we weren't 21, and so his mom ran the bar, but she wouldn't serve us, but she let us sit in there. She wouldn't let us drink. And we sat in there and played shuffleboard.
Mather is saying had an extremely long runway. That's cool, but I mean, I don't think it. I mean, is it the same now? That's what I'm wondering. I can't recall hearing anything about the runway length being altered or anything like that. But I mean, now it's in the middle of there's residential and industrial all around Mather. If I'm not mistaken, UPS and FedEx and all those folks fly in there also. As a matter of fact, hey, check this out, Larry. I will actually see the planes fly from Sacramento International Airport, which is not more. It can't be any further than 25 miles to Mather, from there. And it'll fly. You'll see the FedEx planes just barely climbing and then descending. Yeah. And so it's like driving a car. I mean, it amazes me that they would do that. They would spend the fuel in order to send the plane just that's got to be like a 2-minute or 3-minute flight from Sacramento International Airport into Mather.
Well, they're probably looking at how much would it cost to drive it there for gas,
right,
plus the drivers. You got to pay all the drivers. So how many trucks would you have to send you can send in one plane.
Yeah.
And then time, because that 20 miles, as you well know, could take you an hour or 2 hours. Because of
Yeah,
traffic.
Tim, in case you don't know, if you went to Google and you brought up Mather, on Google Earth, I think it is, you'll see there are houses everywhere, all over the place, stacked up on top of each other. And so Mather, I have seen some things about Mather that are interesting. I think you could fly private aircraft in there. And so I think John Travolta and a few of the other rich and famous, occasionally they'll bring their Gulfstreams or whatever into Mather, if I'm not mistaken. I could have my facts all twisted up, but
I do not blame the rich and famous for having their own private planes.
neither do I, honestly.
The only thing I would complain about with them is they're telling me we have to save the environment. We got to fly.
Oh yeah, and then they take off in
Yeah.
their brand new in their
Yeah.
747.
And there's some of them that do that,
Yeah,
and
Yeah.
Taylor Swift happens to be one of them.
yeah.
Uh,
It must be nice though,
oh yeah, but there's one guy I'm trying to remember who it was. He's one of the guys that does it.
Tim is cracking me up. Tim is saying Rancho Cordova was a war zone. It's still the same, Tim. It's still a war zone. You can't go in there alone. You can't drive in there alone. And unfortunately, I had a lot of meetings and offices that were nearby in Rancho Cordova, so I got a taste of it at least once or twice a week when I was working. Tim's busting me up. You know what, Larry? Listen to you talk about what's going on with you. I still want your life. It sounds like you have a nice life.
I'm broke all the time.
Yeah, but I mean, it's all relative.
Yeah.
It's all relative.
Well, like I said, once I get I got.
Are you collecting your Social Security yet? Are you still?
Yeah,
Are you collecting?
I'm taking it. I'm taking it.
You're taking
Otherwise,
it. Okay.
Yeah. Otherwise, I'd be in a lot worse shape.
All right.
But like I said,
Do you have any regrets taking it?
I regret taking it the year I did, but then I should have waited another year. I was set full maturity for my Social Security. I was at full benefits, but
Right.
the year I took it, I worked a whole lot of overtime. Now I didn't know that was going to happen. If I'd have known I was going to work, how much I was going to work, I would have waited at least another year. Because
But let me ask you a question. Since you are working, the contributions continue, so your
Yes.
benefits go up every year, right?
No, I get the
They
COLA.
don't?
That's it. I just get the COLA.
It doesn't go up because your contributions increase.
No. Once you take it,
I thought it went up. I thought it went up
not
when
if
your
you take it.
contribution.
Not
Huh.
once you take it, that's where it's at, except for the COLAs.
Dang.
Okay.
But you're not restricted because of age to how
No,
much
I can
money.
make as much money as I want now.
Right. Right.
I waited to take it at full benefit because I thought about taking it early. I did, and I went in and I talked to the Social Security guys, and like I said, I was still living up around Rochester. I went into Batavia, which is a small town, almost dead center between Rochester and Buffalo, and they got a Social Security office. I went in there and talked to a guy. He says, "Look,
Hey, there's an old joke that the best thing about Buffalo is Niagara Falls.
that's true. It's not a joke. It's true. But anyway, when I went in and talked to him, he says, "Well, look, how much you going to make?" And I told him about what I would make that year. He says, "Well, you can't take it until like 6 months, 7 months later, because they're going to take all this money first. You got to pay back because I was under the age. You're only allowed to make so much money. All right,
Right.
all right. So anything over that, they take back. Okay, if you make more than that."
Oh, I know. I'm going through it because guess what? I miscalculated my final income.
Okay. Well,
So I'm going through it. So they will take back the overage. Yeah, they're
Oh,
taking
yeah.
back the overage.
Oh yeah, So,
And
but if
they're quick about it. They're quick about it.
oh yeah, they take it first.
Yeah.
And that's what he told me. He says you won't see a check for 6 months or 7 months, whatever it was. It was almost 7 months.
Right. Right.
And I said, well, by that time, it's almost time for me to retire. It'd be
Right.
almost. I could just wait a couple more months, and it won't cost me anything.
Mhm.
So I went ahead and waited a couple more months. Now, if I'd waited a couple more months, I made quite a bit of money the year after I took it. But like I said, it doesn't. I could make all I wanted, so it didn't matter. But I could have waited and got that increase. By waiting another year, you get so much more. Each year you wait, you get so much more. I would have got it. Wouldn't have been a lot, maybe 100, 150 maybe
Mhm.
every month. But, that's better than a kick in the balls.
Yeah,
And,
it sure is.
and so,
It goes a long way in the Philippines. That's all I got to say about that.
it goes a long way in the States when you think about
Yeah.
buying gas or groceries and stuff.
Sure.
And if I could have waited to 70, believe me, I would have, because it would have made a big difference in what I got. And like I said, I'm in the sweet spot that Stephen talks about, but I'd have been in the really good sweet spot if I'd have waited another 4 years.
But hey, honestly, and you know this, there are plenty of places that you could live on that kind of money in the States.
Yeah, but like I said,
Yeah, so
I can live back where I'm from for almost, probably about what I get. I can live back there. I don't want to
Mhm.
live back here. I don't want to
Mhm.
live where it snows. I'm sorry, that's not for
right.
me. Once I quit working, I want to go where it's a
Yeah.
rarity, if not a lifetime event to
Mhm.
see snow.
Right.
Last time I wanted to see snow, I was 20 years old. I was in the Navy. I thought, oh man, I miss snow. I miss the four seasons out in California. You don't get it.
Well, you
So I
don't get it
went,
in the Philippines, that's for sure.
and so like I said, I went home for
Yeah,
Christmas.
summer and rainy season.
Like I said, I went home for Christmas one year. Like I said, the year I turned 20. So it was after my 20th birthday. I go home and we get, 6 inches to a foot of snow. I think, great, I'm going to get my white Christmas. And I'm walking everywhere because my dad doesn't have insurance for me driving the car. And because it was so much snow, he didn't want to take the chance. Usually he would, but not with all that snow on the ground. Because my part of Indiana doesn't get the streets cleared real well. So I'm walking everywhere for about a week. Christmas Eve, it rains. I get up Christmas morning, there's nothing but little patches of snow here and there. I said, that's it. I don't care if I ever see another snowdrop the rest of my life. I'm done with it. I mean,
Good for you.
here
Good
it
for
was.
you.
I walked everywhere for a week so I could get my white Christmas, and then it rains. Now the best thing that came out of that trip was my best friend from my Navy days, the guy I told you that did the 20 years, never made it above E4, got engaged to my cousin Linda. And the sad part about that was she died of leukemia a couple years later. But yeah, it was a good trip.
Yeah. Well, I think that when you're comparing anywhere, I was just thinking about between Thailand and the Philippines. I think that the Philippines does have the edge just simply because of the language. It's
Well,
but
also
as
I think
far
the
as
people are friendlier.
yeah, they're friendlier and well, they've been pretty friendly in Thailand. I don't want to down folks in Thailand.
No, no,
They've been
no.
the reason why. Maybe it's just they've been extra friendly, and I think it's because as tourism returns back to Thailand, they really, really have learned to appreciate the kind of dollars or contributions that tourists make to the
Well,
local economies.
but yeah, but
And
I'm not talking about the people that work in the tourist industry.
yeah,
I'm talking about the average person.
right,
Uh,
right,
and it might be because the average person can speak a little bit of English. And it might be, and I think this has probably got more to do with it, is our historical background with each other.
right.
You know,
Oh
we
yeah, I'm
talk,
sure it has a lot to do with it.
yeah, like I said,
It
and
has a
like I
lot
said,
to do with it.
I served with a lot of,
MacArthur. Are
I
you kidding
served
me?
with
You
a,
go to the Philippines and
yeah,
everything has MacArthur Avenue on it.
like I said, I also served with a lot of Filipinos, and they were all good people.
Hmm.
Uh,
No, they're great.
yeah, and like I said, on every ship I was on, there was Filipinos, and even on
Hmm.
shore duty, there was Filipinos.
Oh, sure. They're what they make up the majority, probably the majority of sailors manning merchant
Merchant Marines,
ship.
yeah. But
Yeah,
I'm talking about the
all over
United
the
States
world.
Navy.
Yeah.
But now the Filipinos I knew that were in the Navy, they joined for one of three reasons. There was three different reasons, all kind of connected. One is they want to get their American citizenship. So by serving in
Right.
the service, it's quicker to get it.
Hmm.
Two, they want to do a retirement. They want to do 20 years, go back home, and never work again. And three, they want to do a retirement and stay in the States. That's the three
Gotcha.
reasons, Two of them were retirements, but one was like they want to have their family, raise them in the States. And a lot of them, like I said, wanted to do retirement and then go back home. Now, that didn't mean the kids wanted to go back home if they were old enough that they might stay because, raised in the States. But I knew guys that the only reason, they said, hey, I can do 6 years and I can get my citizenship, you know. And so now they can go out and actually be a citizen and vote and
No,
work.
that's fantastic opportunity. Yeah,
Yeah.
presents itself.
And there was a lot of corruption in that, involved in that.
Oh, really?
But not on the American side.
Hmm.
A lot of times you had to get an official to let you join. So a lot of times your family members would pay bribes to officials to get you in.
Oh, I see. I see.
And matter of fact, I
Well,
know a woman.
I would say that the language, I think you made a couple good points. I think that the languages and the historical underpinnings are important factors to consider. But I wouldn't shy away from Thailand. I could survive. I definitely could survive here if we decide to live here.
Well,
And they do have a Filipino town here, by the way, I believe, and
I,
they do have
I could,
community.
like I said, I did watch. There was 20 seconds in Thailand. Thailand Ram. There was Kev in Thailand, and there was a couple others I followed for a while. And I thought about it. Yeah, I could survive there. Now
Yeah.
you can go to Chiang Mai. The thing I didn't like about Chiang Mai was the burning season.
Oh yeah, you'd have to go away during burning
You know,
season, but they're
and that's
they're
about
working
two.
on it. They
That's
are
about two
working
to
on
three
that.
months. That's about two
Yeah,
to
it's
three
not
months.
as bad as it used to be, but getting the communication out to the farmers about about the burning and the impact that it has on the environment. It's difficult, but they're approaching it by trying to get the farmers to voluntarily um,
Do other
fall.
things. Yeah.
Yeah, they're doing it through that way, cooperation, I think, more than they are legislating. So you would have to leave and head to probably southern Thailand if you wanted to escape that.
And or go
Yeah,
back
but I'm
home.
sure I'm sure you could compare it to other things that are going on in the Philippines,
Oh
but
yeah, yeah.
I'll have to let you know about that when I after I spend a year or two there.
Oh yeah. Like I said, myself personally, I would want to be near a big city, but
Yeah, I love the big city.
not living in it.
Right.
Uh, I I just like if you can run into the city any day of the week that you want, and being retired, you have that
They probably
capability.
heard that. They probably heard that toilet flushing, honey.
I didn't hear
Yeah.
that, but what I'm saying is though, uh, you're close enough to run into a big city. Let's take you an hour or two. You got the time, and then you can go in, do what you got to do, and come back. Oh man,
Hi,
how you
Larry.
doing? I'm gonna be
Doing
getting
She's
off the
good.
air here pretty soon.
Yeah,
Yeah.
she's waiting on me, but we sure have enjoyed the you
Well,
sharing your
well, like,
experience with us.
like I said, I got to get up in about 5 hours.
I'm listening.
Yeah, but you know what? We really have enjoyed you being here. That's for sure.
Uh,
But
but
hey, yeah, go ahead.
I would say, but like I said, as a retired person, you run into the city. If it takes you an hour to get there, that's fine. You do what
Hmm.
you got to do.
You're not in a hurry.
I'm lazy. I really am.
Yeah.
But I'm willing to work hard. I don't want to get in a rush. There's no
Yeah.
sense. You know, if you get all worked up and you give yourself an ulcer. What good's that doing you? And
Hey, you were saying you had mentioned that that part of the reason for continuing to get up and go to work every day is because you have debt to pay off still. And so
yeah.
how is that going for you?
Well, it's getting there, except for I had to take a couple of days off a little over a week ago because I was sick, and I
Hmm.
don't get sick days, so
Oh,
I don't work, I don't get paid, and
right.
but like I said, I'm paying my bills.
Are you making progress on retiring your debt? I guess that's the question.
Yes, I'm making. I'll have one bill paid off in 2 months,
Oh, good. Good for you.
and
Congratulations.
I'll
I
have
mean, that
another.
has to factor into this whole idea, you know.
I got one, two, three. Not counting my car, I got about three bills I want to get paid off. And
Good.
there's actually
Be
four.
debt free. That's the best advice
I
I
will
can
have
get
my
that you give
car
someone.
outside of my car. I'll have all my bills paid off in less than 2 years.
Beautiful. So maybe that'll be the point which you consider seriously
No,
um,
no,
heading over.
no. I want
Yeah.
to save money after that.
Oh, you want to save money after that? Yeah.
I want to save for a year or two after that.
What do you
You're
think? What
paying
do you think is a good number? What do you think is a good number to go with?
a few $1,000s, at least 10. But
Oh, at least
yeah,
10. Yeah,
but I'm
I
going
think
to tell
you're
you
on
the
the right
truth.
track.
I'm going to tell you the
Yeah.
truth. If I get
Yeah.
tired enough and sick enough of what's going on and my mother's gone, because I'm not going
Uh-huh.
anywhere to talk to my mom, guys. I don't mean to be morbid, but like I said, she's 96. I don't want to get
Mhm.
over there and have to turn around and come right back.
Oh, no, no, I understand that. Yeah.
But once she's gone, if I get ticked off enough at work or get sick enough that I don't want to get up anymore, my bills are all paid off, and I got enough money to pay to get over there and set myself up. Let's say a couple thousand, maybe $5,000. I might do it. I doubt it, but I might,
Hmm. Hmm.
because it'd only be another 5 months, and I'll have the 10.
Right.
Yeah.
No, no, I understand.
I
It makes
plan
sense. I
once I
would
get my
go. You've been watching you watch some of the YouTube videos, and they start throwing out numbers, and so what's the idea in your mind? Is 10,000 enough? Do you think?
to make the move. Yeah,
Yeah.
but like I said, you'd really have to do things slowly. I mean, you can't fully furnish your place. You can't fully do everything all at once. So
Tim's
it's
saying
better.
make sure you always have money for a plane ticket back home. That's what he's saying.
Yeah. Well, like I
I
said,
think it's solid advice. You know.
oh, he's right. But what I'm saying is though, it also depends on my health.
Yeah.
You know, I'm in good health right now. I'm 68 years old, but in another 3-4 years, I might be in the toilet.
Right.
And if that's the
Right.
case, I'm not going. But I
Right.
really do want to go at least visit, and if I can, so I'd go back
Well,
and.
Larry, we'll see it. We'll certainly get together and see you when you get here. That's for sure.
All right,
And let's go ahead and call it a stream for now, and then we'll see everybody on the flip side. Set something up for the future. Uh, I'll try and set up my playlist. If you guys want to help me make my watch hours, I'm going to try and do that right now, and we'll get that going. And then I just wanted to say in closing that uh, the whole thing about me having to boot Sean off of the screen earlier was simply because number one, it's my show, and I want it, and I control the direction that it
well,
goes.
you did
And
keep telling him that you didn't want to hear about it.
right, I don't want to, because that's stuff that he should be discussing on his own channel, and so I just want to say that it's nothing really personal about Sean, but I could see that he was getting on one of his tangents, and where he wanted to just take over and start talking about that tax thing. And I'm at a way different point in my life. It has nothing to do whether Sean is correct and whether he's making valid or invalid statements or anything about the tax thing. But it just doesn't have any part of my life or Minnie's life right now. You know, in other words, I don't have any kind of a tax worry or a tax problem. I'm not out to fight the federal government on whether they're collecting too much money on my taxes. And he's much more fun when he talks about his stories of his trip to the Philippines, Sean. So I hope I didn't hurt your feelings, man. And you're welcome back anytime, as long as we're focusing more on the topic and not going off talking about U.S. tax reform or something like that. So I just wanted to throw that out there. But Larry, thanks for this. You're a great storyteller. That, you know, again, I've said that many times. I love your voice, the way it resonates. When you start speaking, I'm listening every single time. So anyway, thanks so much for spending time on the stream, and we will see you next time on the next live for Dan's Retirement Journey Philippines Bound. Minnie, come over and say goodbye to everybody. Bye. We're gonna go shopping now, I'm sure, and we're gonna go find we're gonna find something.
Remember now, take care, stay safe and healthy, and try to have
Thank you, guys.
Okay,
Bye.
Take care.
that says it all. Take care, Larry. Bye bye.
All right, bye.